Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another edition of True Offseason. We are here live on the True Hill Heat Sports Entertainment channel, once again breaking down everything that's going on in the NFL. And last week we talked about kind of a pre-free agency, and we had a bit of a scouting combine. But as the graphic says, Happy New Year, because as of yesterday, Wednesday, May 11th, it is now officially the 2026 season for the NFL, which means that all these different contracts started hitting, and teams were allowed to have the legal tampering period, and they were able to start signing people, and we started getting the news. So we are going to break it all down for you. And of course, when I say we, I mean myself, I mean Chase Oliver. Sir, how are you doing this fine Thursday afternoon?
This is the best time of the year, John, where we have fake optimism about our football teams. We act like who we signed is going to make a difference. This is just the best part. Like, I don't think any other free agency has this. NFL's free agency is the funniest. Like basketball, maybe unless there's like a big player move, we do this and stuff.
Yeah.
MLB, it just depends on like if you feel like your roster is actually good enough to make the playoffs. The NFL, it is unpredictable. Like you will see these contracts and you'll be like, oh, we got this guy. Oh, whoa, what a big move. This is amazing. This is great. Oh, my team is so big. You're so excited. You can't wait.
Think about me last year with Dre Greenlaw. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like this is just some of the things that the offseason does. Like we just get so hyped up for these signings and stuff. So it's great. I love offseason in the NFL. They are the only league that I think that just knows like how to maximize money even when they're not in the season. Like they find a way for you to say like, oh, I gotta sign up for NFL Plus. You gotta watch tape on these guys that your team just signed and all that other crap. So yeah, man, love it. I love that it's the new year for the NFL.
Yeah, I think you're right in a number of different ways. Obviously, for me, this is my favorite time of the year because it's roster construction, salary cap stuff, the draft. As we've talked about, like I find that so much more interesting and appealing than the game sometimes. But I will say, there's a very strategic way of how the NFL goes about it. Like a lot of people complain about Thursday night football or Monday night football, right? Like, and saying, oh, like, why do we have to have these games? It's not as interesting. Sometimes they put teams up there on Thursday night football that on paper 6 months ago were good, right? Like around this time when the schedule is going to be coming out or they're working on it, are good on paper. And then by the time the season starts, it's like, oh, this team is terrible. But what's interesting is that because all these teams, generally speaking, are playing on the same day of Sunday, if you're an average fan, you don't have the time to be watching all the games versus a basketball where people are playing multiple games a week. They're playing on different days of the week and things like that. You can just turn on the TV and catch one of those games. So when you say, okay, this person was traded or this person was signed in free agency, you may have some kind of an idea of what that player is like, but it's harder to view that player in the NFL. It's harder to replicate that. And on top of that, in the NFL, because it's 11 on 11 all the time, it's so many different people that are involved. So learning exactly, like, say, what's the value of an Alex Anzalone who left Detroit? Like, you don't necessarily know. So to your point, that's how the NFL really does help keep that revenue going and help keeping that interest throughout the entire year. So, kudos to them for figuring it out. Cause this is March 12th that we're talking about this. And in a month and 2 weeks, month and a half, it's going to be the draft. And then after the draft, schedule release. And after schedule release, OTAs and trading camp, and we're right back into it, right? Like the NFL moves, and we have to move with it, kind of thing. Like either you're in the huddle or you're out of the huddle, so to speak. You know what I mean? So it is true. So there are a lot of things that we need to talk about, and obviously we're going to get to all the free agency stuff. But I mean, is there anything we can't discuss before we discuss the Max Crosby situation? I didn't intend to get as blurry of a picture, but it did work out this way because the whole situation is ridiculously blurry. So the Ravens announced that they are trading 2 first-round picks the 14th pick of the 2026 draft and a 2027 first round pick to the Las Vegas Raiders for the services of one Max Crosby. Now, as with everything, with all these trades, whenever a trade happens, it's always pending a physical. Now, in the case of Max Crosby, we know that he was shut down towards the end of the 2025 season because of issues with his knee. He ended up having surgery, meniscus issues, and cleanup stuff. And he's now rehabbing the knee. So the idea would be, obviously, if once pending the physical, the trade's going to go through. But generally speaking, a team that makes the trade, a team that is doing such a thing, they already know that the player is going to have rehabbed properly, that, or that the person is on the path. And so the idea here is like, sure, maybe this player could miss week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, maybe, but you're not trading for somebody like Max Crosby for weeks 1 through 4 or 5 or 6. You're trading for somebody like Max Crosby for week 18, 19, 20. You're trading that for the playoffs, and you're trading to bolster your team and your team's chances once you get to the playoffs. And you already know, if you're the Ravens, that you can get to the playoffs, but once you get to the playoffs, it's a any given Sunday situation. Now, all of a sudden, despite the fact that we had a whole bunch of fun, fun little images made of Max Crosby in Ravens gear, the Ravens suddenly, stunningly, back out of the trade and say, we are no longer trading for Max Crosby. And they don't like say anything. They don't like, there's no news. There's nothing like that. Meanwhile, the Raiders have kind of been acting as though Max Crosby is no longer on the books. So they've been spending the money that they would have gotten had Max Crosby's contract no longer been on the books. And we're going to go over who their signings are. Some of them are some smart signings, including probably the most sought after offensive lineman in the entire free agent class in Tyler Linderbaum. They got him, ironically, from the Ravens. But now we find out that they are backing out of the deal, and they cited that it was due to failure of physical, like physical, medical related stuff. And this caused a lot of drama, or it is causing a lot of drama, because, like I stated earlier, if we were trading for this person, you already knew coming into it that this person was going to have knee injuries or had an knee issue. You knew that. You were trading with them with that knowledge. And so, yeah, like that can affect the price, the asking price for the Raiders, but the Ravens were willing to pay, at the time, they were willing to pay the 2 firsts. On top of that, if you're the Ravens, why are you suddenly backing out now? And if you are going back on your word and it turns out that really his knee is okay, then how does that make you look to the rest of the league when it comes to future trades? And when it comes to, I mean, as small as it may sound, even players trying to sign to the Ravens, they may be like, I could be used in something like this trade bait, this weird situation that happened with this. So Eric DeCosta, like, he kind of looked a little weird making this for not the trade, but then the backing out of it. And how they go about, like, I guess from what I understood, or there's been some reporting that it was a situation that they were concerned about what the situation would be for Max Crosby, not this year, not next year, but the future of, like, say 2 years, 3 years down the line, because Crosby's only 28 years old. His contract, they would have to be renegotiating it sooner rather than later. At least the idea or the rumor that's been floating out there is that this knee injury could be lingering, could be longer term. So maybe they wanted to go in a different direction. And they did go in a different direction, because then, stunningly, they announced that they're going to be signing Trey Hendrickson, bringing in the star pass rusher from the Bengals. He'll be leaving Cincinnati, and he will be joining the Ravens. So, Chase, what are your thoughts on this whole situation? And if you were breaking it down from, like, what the thought process of the Ravens were and the thought process of the Raiders going forward, how would you be dealing with this?
Yeah, the thought process for the Ravens was this. The Ravens desperately needed to add someone on the edge. And so they looked at it like this. The top edge rushers available on the market most likely won't be available once this New Year league starts. They were expecting this. Like, this is what they're expecting. They're like, oh, they're not going to be available. Let's go after a guy that, we know is available. We can't sign him, but we can trade for him in Max Crosby. So they go ahead, do the trade for Max Crosby. It's a great trade. John, for 5 beautiful days, we were done with Max Crosby. For all you guys know, John's a Denver fan. I'm a Chargers fan. We love Max Crosby. We respect the hell of him as a football player. We hate playing against him.
You and I did nothing, and we watched Trent McDuffie and Max Crosby lead the division. It was wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. We were so happy. We were like, oh, thank God Max Crosby's not going to torment us for 2 games a year and stuff. And now he's back. But it was because Baltimore did this trade, and they had buyer's remorse, in my personal opinion. They had buyer's remorse because, especially once the New Year League started, they were like, oh, Trey Hendrickson is still available? And I truly believe Hendrickson was their number 1 target the whole time. One, Trey Hendrickson is a better pure pass rusher than Max Crosby. Max Crosby, way better football player. But in terms of getting to the quarterback, Trey Hendrickson is one of the best in the league right now. Like, he has 28.5 sacks in the last 2 years as a pass rusher. That's a lot of sacks. They were looking for someone like that, and they were looking at it as like, hey, this guy has familiarity with the division, so on and so forth. I mean, there was a report Trey Hendrickson was going to go to the Colts, and then all of a sudden Baltimore came back into the fold, getting him. And once again, Baltimore, they get their revenge. They screw over the Colts again. So whatever. So they add Trey Hendrickson to the roster, but this was definitely buyer's remorse because they were looking at this and they were like, oh man, we didn't realize these edge rushers were still going to be available. Like, we thought it was going to be a tough sell to get these edge rushers, and they gave up good draft capital, pretty much set the market up. Hey, if you want a top defensive player, this is what you have to give up to get a top defensive player. And so other teams now are like, oh, all right, now we know what we have to give up to get a top defensive player to our roster. But they lose 2 first-round picks. They sign a guy in Max Crosby. We mentioned the knee issues. We don't know really the extent of these knee issues for Max Crosby. But also they traded for a guy whose contract isn't friendly to the Ravens. This was a contract that the Raiders negotiated, not the Ravens. So the Baltimore Ravens are picking up whatever the Raiders negotiated. So they have no flexibility when it comes to Max Crosby. You have to be all in on Max Crosby. Compared to Trey Hendrickson, everyone's like, well, they gave him a 4-year deal. Yeah, but if you look at the cap and how it breaks down, when they can release him, like I always tell people, NFL contracts are the most fake contracts in all of sports. Like, they will say this player signed for 4 years. Really, it's a 2-year contract hidden in a 4-year deal. That's just how it is most of the time with the NFL. They can release players and just suffer like a small little penalty here or there. So they pretty much were like, this does not work for us, brother. He's failing he failed a physical, which is true. He did fail a physical, but what were the Ravens testing in this physical? We don't know. So they were probably testing certain things that were probably out of the norm of regular physicals. And I've heard stories from NFL players on podcasts and stuff. Certain teams want them to do certain things, yada, yada, yada. This was definitely designed of, okay, the player that we really wanted is still available. We can get him on a contract that works for us, and he's on our timeline instead, and we get to keep our draft picks instead of we give up future picks. We have to deal with a contract that isn't a contract we negotiated. We may have to pay this guy way more than we want to pay an edge rusher right now, or an edge player in Max Crosby right now. An edge is one of the 4 most important positions in football. So it's like, yeah, let's rescind this offer. We're going to keep our picks back. The Raiders, you can have them and stuff. So that's pretty much what it did. I do believe Baltimore, they were looking at it as like they had a list of people they wanted. They looked at it as Trey Hendrickson was their number 1 that was available. Max Crosby's number 2, and it's not because he wasn't available. It's just because they knew they had to trade to get him. And like a Khalil Mack or Jalen Phillips, they're like 3 or 4, just because like both guys have familiarity with whatever scheme the Ravens want to run, especially Khalil Mack played under head coaches Jesse Minter's scheme the last 2 years. They ultimately got the guy they really wanted. They ultimately got their picks back. I don't know I think the Ravens look bad in this situation,
I think the
especially
Ravens really do look bad.
especially when you sign Trey Hendrickson right after. It's like kind of like, okay, we're signing this guy right after rescinding the that's kind of shady. But on the Raiders side of things, what did the Raiders do wrong? They literally said, Max, we're just doing what's best for the business. You know what the NFL stands for, not for long. It's a business at the end of the day. You understand this. And now they get to keep Max Crosby. And a lot of people were saying, well, they were signing people, Max Crosby. The Raiders had cap space. So a lot of these players that they did sign were fitting into their cap space of if they did have Max Crosby. If Max Crosby's trade would have gone through, they would have had more cap space to do whatever they wanted. So now the Raiders not only bolster up their roster and getting good quality free agent signings, but they get to keep their best defensive player, Max Crosby. And it seems like, hey, Max, come on. We traded you. We gave you a destination. And it's not like the Raiders did bad on Max Crosby. They traded him to a team that is
that was a contender. Yeah.
Contender. Yeah. They didn't trade Max Crosby to like the Cardinals or some random ass squad. They traded him to a Super Bowl contender. They were doing right by Max Crosby. So Max Crosby's looking at this like, hey, you guys did try to do right by me. You guys did get what you wanted out of me. You obviously value me that much that it took 2 first-round picks for me to leave this roster. And it seems like you respect me as a human being. All right, I'll stay and play with you guys. And if we're going to go down the trade, we can go down the trade down the line. And it's like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll keep you. Probably. Yeah, they want to keep a guy like Max Crosby. Are you kidding me? Like, why wouldn't you want to keep this guy on your roster?
And so like he did have that tweet where he was like, glad to be back in silver and black. Let's run it back. So you can see where, to your point, Max is he wasn't dealt a bad hand in the sense he was treated respectfully. So he has it's got to be like, I know he had for Max, where I'm going with this is that it's got to be a nice feeling considering the fact that originally there was an issue because they shut you down a couple weeks before the season ended when you had the ability still to potentially get some of those incentives and get that bonus money. So to go from that 3 months later to this, it has to be a nice feeling to at least go, they do care about me to a certain extent. Like they do want me. They didn't want to lose me. And we can compare this because I like the point that you brought up about they set the originally this trade would have set kind of the market for a premier edge rusher in a trade. We can look at the Micah Parsons trade. In the case of the Micah Parsons trade with Dallas and Green Bay, Green Bay gave up 2 first-round picks and a player. They did give up Kenny Clark. They sent Kenny Clark back in exchange for Micah Parsons. This is just pure 2 first-round picks. So, like, the idea that, like, how we treat outside linebackers or Micah Parsons style players versus the Crosbys, the pass rushers, it does change that calculus. If you're a team to go, hey, we may not need to send a player back. We could just deal with picks, but if we don't want to give up picks, like what are our ways to try to move around this? So it is a fascinating situation for both teams involved. For the Ravens, you do get the player potentially that you wanted all along in Trey Hendrickson, 4 years, $112 million. I think it's like $60 million guaranteed. And if you're the Raiders, you look good, right? Like you don't look bad. Like now you got to figure out how to. You now need to figure out how to massage the hell out of your cap situation to try to make sure everybody fits properly under the silver and black banner. I'm sure they probably are going to have to restructure a contract or two to get everything fully finalized with some of the players they have on the team. However, it is a relatively youthful team. So, like, their contracts aren't that expensive. Realistically, Max Crosby was one of the more expensive contracts, which means, like, you could realistically turn to Max Crosby and say, hey, look, these are the players we brought in because we thought we were losing you. Now we're getting you back, and you can see that we are here. We wanted the best for you. Would you be willing to work with us? Maybe free up a little bit of money. Let's change it into signing bonus, whatever the case may be, to try to help us figure out this cap situation. And if you're Max Crosby, like you have to look at this similarly to how Devontae Adams was looking at it with the Raiders. It's like you don't really want to win. It doesn't come across as though you want to win. Now it looks like with their head coach hiring, with the fact that they have the first overall pick, and it's probably going to be, I mean,
it's going to be
worst kept
Mendoza.
secret, it's going to be Mendoza. Like you have the quarterback on paper. Like if you want to try to build around this person from Crosby's perspective, it looks like the team really is now trying to win, or at the very least, they're trying to compete. And all of the players that they added and getting Crosby back and Fernando Mendoza and whoever they may get with that second round pick, especially if it's an offensive skill player like another wide receiver, they have the ability to challenge on paper. They have the ability to challenge in arguably the most competitive division in the entirety of football. Like you could argue like it's the AFC West, it's the NFC West, and it's the NFC North. I can't really think of that many divisions other than those three that are that highly competitive. With
the
three
NFC
out of the four teams being that
NFC
good.
East can be competitive. It just depends on who
NFC East
up.
can be competitive, but I mean, like you can look at all three. You can look at least three teams and be like, yes, they could. All three of these can easily make the playoffs. Easily could have happened where if the Chiefs were not having the rebuild sort of implosion that they had, aka Patty's knee doesn't blow out, that they could have been a wild card team. Like it's possible. It's definitely possible. So having this situation, it is a blessing for the Raiders, depending on how you work it and depending on how you make this work for you. Because you could also look at them free agents, not this year, because this year's kind of done, but like you can look at it for next year and say, hey, if you sign here, we will do right by you. The old days are the old days. This is the new time with Clint Kubiak as head coach, and we will do right by players. So if you are one of the, like this could be a really good turning point for the Raiders, as terrible as it sounds for us to say, as the AFC West, I guess, competitors in the room.
Yeah.
But yeah, this could be really great for the Raiders, which means we should take a look at what are all the moves that they made and what are all the moves that the rest of the league made. And that's where we bring in a nice little free agency tracker. And let's get into it.
Let's get to the Raiders first. We could.
You want to go straight to the Raiders?
Yeah, let's go with them first, since we're on the topic of them. Let's just scroll down to the Raiders, and then we can work our way to other interesting teams, because they really came out swinging. And they got. I really felt like good players for their roster and stuff, and players that haven't proven much on their previous teams, but have a chance to explode for them. Like I look at Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker, two guys who played together in college, so they're very familiar with each other, but added athleticism and youth at that linebacker position, because let's be real, like they were throwing corpses out there at linebacker last year. Like Devin White was like their best linebacker last year, so they were just looking at it where it's like, hey, we get young athletic linebackers and Quay Walker, Nakobe Dean. Two guys that, just really couldn't find their footing at their old teams. I guess Quay Walker more than Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean was kind of in and out of that Eagles lineup. But getting two guys like this, both at a young age and on really, really good deals. Kwity Paye is another guy that I think pairs up decently with Max Crosby. Nothing great, but I think pairs up very, very decently. Getting a wide receiver 3 and Jalen Naylor, who kind of
might be one of my favorite signings out of all of this.
Yeah, and they got him at a really, really good deal. Yeah. He was behind Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Didn't really get a chance to be the primary receiver on a primary route. But Jalen Naylor, he may have a skill set that Kubiak looks at and says, he's a player that I like. He has the routes that I like that he runs. He has definitely the speed that I like in my wide receivers. Maybe Jalen Naylor ends up becoming, a low-end wide receiver 1 or a high-end wide receiver 2 for the Raiders, and especially as a wide receiver that they kind of need in a veteran presence for, your rookie quarterback and Fernando Mendoza. Tyler Linderbaum, I mean, perfect. Like you get your real captain of the offense. I mean, we talked about it last year. I didn't understand the move of Jackson Power Johnson, who was like a really good center for them hit their rookie year, to guard. I was just like, why? You had a kick-ass center, keep the kick-ass center. Well, guess what? Now they can have Jackson Power Johnson still play at guard. Hopefully, he's much more healthy than he was last year. And they get a kick-ass center, the best center that was available in free agency in Tyler Linderbaum. I mean, great. They kept guys like Eric Stokes, who had a solid year for them. Malcolm Kuntz, who's a great rotational player. And not to mention, building off, other guys that they signed last year, and Jeremy Chin, who played well for them too, who was kind of like their do-it-all kind of player on the defense. They're building something very solid here, and it's just more on, can these players outperform what the Raiders are paying them? Like, the Raiders really did a smart job because they gave them a lot of guaranteed money. Heck, if Quiddy Pay doesn't work out, guess what? This 3-year, $32 million guaranteed deal, really nice, a 1-year deal. We can cut him next year. It is what it is. This Quay Walker contract, we're stuck with it for 2 years. We can cut him before the last year of the contract. Same with the Kobe Dean. We can cut him after the second year. Linderbaum, I think it's going to work out regardless and stuff. They definitely set the market, and they overpaid for Linderbaum, but they had to. They had to overpay for a player. Sometimes teams have to overpay for certain players to get them to play on their roster. And when you have it where you have a guy in Tyler Linderbaum who is clear and far the best offensive lineman available, the best center available on this free agent market, he is one of the best centers in the NFL, probably top 5. You have to overpay for this guy. So very, very good moves by the Raiders. And then they got Teron Johnson via trade. Very solid stuff. I really like what the Raiders did this offseason.
Yeah.
And it's still going. They can still make moves. So
right. And I mean, to me, the two biggest is the Linderbaum and the Jalen Nailor. It's the Nailor is very underrated. Like, he was able to step in as a wide receiver 2 for the time when Jefferson was either hurt or just wasn't available. And then when Addison had his suspension at the start of the 25 season, Nailor was stepping in as the 2. So he has a lot of versatility, a lot of experience, and it's a great move for them. What I'm interested in is, how does this affect the rest of the wide receivers that they have currently, with like the Jack Betches of the world, the Dante Thorntons? They let Jacoby Myers go and trade. The Jack Betch is really the guy, right? Like, that's going to be one of the big things, because obviously they're secure at tight end and they're secure at running back. How they figure out this wide receiver room, that's really, like, that's one of the things that you brought Clint Kubiak in for. And you saw what he did with JSN. You're like, can he do something like that for us? Bringing in somebody like Jalen Nailor to at the very least challenge the Jack Betches of the world or the Dante Thorntons of the world. Like, I think that's a really good decision for them. Was there any, the Taron Johnson? Like, tell me a little bit more about why you like that.
I like it because it fits with what the Raiders want to run on defense. And obviously Taron Johnson hasn't played like to his standards like he was earlier when he was with the Bills. But I do feel like they didn't have to give up too much to get a corner that still has high upside in this league. I think he still has high upside as a player for the Raiders. So that's why I kind of like this move, because instead of overpaying for another corner, like the Eric Stokes contract, let's be real. I do like that they were able to retain Eric Stokes, but it's like $10 million a year for just a subpar corner. Are you going to do that again and sign another corner for $10 million a year? Nah, why not trade for Teron Johnson, who kind of has lost favor in Buffalo? Yeah, you give up some draft picks, but who are you drafting in that position that is going to be better than Teron Johnson? You're not. So I kind of like it because it's a player that, hey, if they have high upside that ends up panning out well, when it comes to re-signing, they could actually re-sign Taron Johnson for a better deal than having it where Taron Johnson is, just completely gone from the mix. So I like it a lot from that perspective, because they get a player that has high upside and they didn't really have to give up too much for it.
Because one of the things I liked about it was not just specifically, like, I agree with what you're saying, the points you're making, but what I also liked about it was he has veteran leadership. He has experience, and he has playoff experience. This is a guy that whatever we want to say about the Buffalo Bills kind of flaming out in the playoffs, he has played 15
Mhm.
playoff games, which is 15 more playoff games than the Raiders have had as an organization in a very long time. So he has the ability to just kind of help mentor people. And he's not going to be around for that much longer in the league. He's a 29-year-old cornerback. He's gonna be turning 30 before the league starts. So like maybe they move him to safety in a little bit, but like he has the ability to just bring veteran experience, especially playoff experience, if that's what you're looking to do, for what the Raiders are looking to do. And of course, they're looking to get back into the playoffs. So let's go back up, and we're going to go alphabetical. And we'll be starting with the Arizona Cardinals. But there it is. I don't know how much time we're going to necessarily spend on each team. I do kind of want to like pick out the things that are like individual players that are look important and how they kind of shape the team.
Yeah.
And obviously, like if the team retains somebody or re-sign people, that'll be important. I think for me, the two biggest for the Cardinals is Isaac Sumalo and Tyler Algier, the two at the top. Gardner Minshew, I don't think he's gonna like he's there to maybe challenge Jacoby Brissett. Like that's who looks better in training camp. But I mean, I don't see really a world where Minshew is doing that much more than what Brissett's already able to do. And if you're the Cardinals, this is more of a rebuild kind of reset. Start doing things like getting the offensive line proper so that when in 27 or 28, when you bring in that rookie quarterback, that's when you're going to be able to have a team that's much more ready to go. So I do like the Similo pick, but the Tyler Algier signing is fascinating to me. Not necessarily from the Cardinals' perspective, but more from the perspective of Tyler Algier. Because I'm like, so first he signs with them, then they restructure James Conner's contract. So they have Connor still in the books. They have Trey Benson on the books, and now they have Tyler Algier on the books. This is a really interesting three-headed running back by committee. If you are really looking to like kill clock, if you're looking to pound the rock and you're trying to take the pressure off of Jacoby Brissett and the passing offense, that's kind of how you do it. And you can do it through a strong run game and you continue to lean on Trey McBride. I'm interested to see what was the thought process for Tyler Algier, because there had to be other teams that were interested in him. I know Denver, it turns out, was not interested in him, which I find fascinating for like, what the hell were they doing? But Algier to the Cardinals, when there were other running back needy teams, from his perspective, I'm fascinated by it. What are your thoughts on the Cardinals free agency signings?
As you guys know, huge Cardinals fan. Love watching them every Sunday on Red Zone.
That's true. You do not like them.
Yeah, Tyler Algier, I truly believe they had the best incentives. Like it was like, wait, I just have to rush for 500 yards and I hit my incentive. Sign me up. Like I truly believe they just hit with the best incentives. James Conner not long for this team anymore. Like he's kind of run his tread and stuff. Trey Benson, I think it's time we got to give up on him. As someone who has Trey Benson in a bunch of dynasty leagues, there's something wrong with this guy.
To be fair, one of them at least, it's not your fault. You were
no, in a lot of other dynasty leagues, I do have Trey Benson though. It's just there's something wrong with him. He can't read holes. I don't know what it is. Doesn't pick up playbooks correctly. I don't know. But it's fine. I mean, Suamalu, by the time the rookie quarterback comes, he's off the team. Like he's going to be an aging guard off the team. Algier, sure, he's going to look good in a Cardinals jersey at least. But none of these moves make me say, "Wow!" Like they let go of a lot of players where I'm like, "Wait, you didn't re-sign this guy? Like, what are we doing here?" Like Cardinals went from, "Hey, we could be a nice little sleeper team in the NFL" to we're just banking on the future. So we'll wait and see. But at least Algier didn't sign like a big contract with them. I mean, he'll be able to hopefully, not be. And once again, he's in a situation where it's a running back by committee, so he's not going to get beat up. So he has one more good contract in his career. So this is more of a career move for Tyler Algier. He's still 25, 26. He's going to be 28 by the time this contract's done. And as long as he doesn't look like he is done, he'll be able to sign one more 2-year, 3-year contract. And retire with a decent bank account. So good on Algier. But yeah, I truly believe they give out the best incentives. They were like, you just have to get 5 touchdowns, 600 yards, and Algier's like, that's doable. Fuck yeah.
That's doable.
I'll do that.
He was like, "Do you know how many touchdowns I've vultured from Bijan Robinson? I can take a
Yeah.
couple from James Conner and Trey Benson."
Yeah. Trey Benson, especially.
The wide receiver pickup, I think, is interesting. I don't
No.
know. Like Kendrick Bourne has never been a like great wide receiver. He is sort of like do you remember the old Sean Spears and Cody Rhodes feud in the beginning of AEW where Sean Spears got angry at Cody for calling him a good hand? Like that's what this reminds me. That's what Kendrick Bourne reminds me of.
Kendrick Bourne is like, you should be going to a team with a scheme that fits what you're good at. Like we saw it where he went to the Patriots for all that money, just wasn't good. Then he comes back to the Niners, and it's like, oh, what the heck? Kendrick Bourne, he's good again. And it's like, no, he's just good in this scheme. Like, there's certain players that should go to a scheme. So I'm surprised he didn't sign to a team or just retained with the 49ers. I mean, I guess, the new Cardinals head coach, he does run a similar scheme to what the 49ers did. He's part of that Shanahan learning tree and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I guess, but still, I'm like, I don't know. Like, how much is he really going to be helping? Like, does this help? Is he a good wide receiver 3 to the wide receiver 2 that is Michael Wilson and to the wide receiver 1?
That's where I'm going with this.
Like, I'm
wondering if the idea of Kendrick Bourne and the idea of him being like a good hand, so to speak, is more like it's a 2-year, $10 million deal, really, to try to help Marvin Harrison Jr. overcome whatever it is that's in his head when it comes to playing the game and it comes to the drops. Maybe I'm super invested in Marvin Harrison Jr. because of where I took him in our dynasty league. And that's why I didn't get Brock Bowers. But it is just one of those things where I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is a guy that has all the talent in the world. I need to figure out how I can help Arizona in my mind, figure out what's going on with Marvin Harrison Jr. I'll take anyone that will help me help him is where I'm going with this. So hopefully Kendrick Bourne is going to be able to do this, help him. Steve Salvage disagreeing a little bit with you, saying that Wilson, right? He thinks Wilson is the wide receiver 1. I mean, yeah, from a production standpoint, Wilson is for sure the wide receiver 1. I think they would like to have Marvin Harrison be the wide receiver 1, especially because this is going to be the 3rd year. So if you're any team, like whether it's the Giants with Neighbors, the Bears with Odunze, right? Like this is where you're getting into that kind of make or break moment for that wide receiver, because these 3 guys are going to be able to generate large contracts, whether they deserve it or not. And they're going to be able to do it. Like Malik for sure has proven that he deserves the benefit of the doubt off of the injury. Rome probably is, interestingly, in like the spot where he can take like the least, because it's coming across more that Rome's a bit of a glue guy, which is fascinating that I would say he would be the least compared to Marvin Harrison Jr. because MHJ, like that is like you're paying for the potential. And whether or not the potential really is there, that I think comes down to this season for him and for the Cardinals coaching staff. So that'll be fun to see. But let's move to a team that has a lot of interesting moves. Okay, so obviously there's the elephant in the room that I'm going to slightly avoid for a little bit. They retain Kyle Pitts on the franchise tag. That's probably the most important thing for the Falcons to talk about. We don't have the terms yet for Zacchaeus as a wide receiver. Dotson, it's like, okay, 2 years, $50 million, whatever. You bring in Austin Hooper from the Patriots, a 1 year, 3.25. Okay, cool. A lot of these deals are relatively cheap because they didn't have a lot of money. Like that was part of why Drew Dahlman left the year prior and went to Chicago, where he played 1 year and then retired, kind of leaving Chicago in a lurch. But the real important thing here is the fact that they signed Tua Tagovailoa.
Mm-hmm.
A 1 year, $1.3 million deal. Now they can afford to do that, or Tua can afford, but Tua can afford to take that deal because the Dolphins cut him incurring a $99 million dead cap hit. Now, do I think that the Dolphins are going to be able to turn things around as quickly as Denver did, because they have now surpassed Denver as having the highest single dead cap hit in history when Denver cut Russ? Do I think they can turn it around as quickly? I don't know. You need to be able to hit on picks and you need to be able to hit on players. And the fact that you're bringing in Tua, the reason is because Michael Penix hasn't gotten the job done yet.
No, he hasn't hit at all.
And so if you are Michael Penix, if you're the Falcons and you're looking at it this going, Michael Penix has now torn one more ACL than the human body has, you're really concerned, because it's similarly to what we were just talking about with Marvin, Neighbors, and Odunze. It's going to be time to figure out these contracts for these quarterbacks. The Michael Penixes, the Bo Nixes, the Caleb Williams, and all these guys of the world. And Penix has not, like, you let Kirk Cousins go. You are bringing in Tua to potentially be a challenger for Penix in training camp. I don't know if they're going to be in the market for one of the quarterbacks that's going to be coming out. There's not that many, and a lot of them have a lot of question marks outside of maybe Fernando Mendoza and maybe parts of elements of Ty Simpson's game. But the rest of them really have a lot of question marks. Are you going to be able to bring somebody in that's going to be able to effectively supplant Penix? And if you aren't, then are you closer to having to see what you can get for a Kyle Pitts in the trade market and see what you can get for a Drake London in the trade market than you are for trying to compete for an NFC South division title? However, it is the NFC South, and we saw last year that it came down to the last game of the season by far, and it wasn't even the team that ended up going in the division was to have the deciding game play out. So how do you feel about the Falcons free agency signings, especially as it pertains to one of your favorite Alabama quarterbacks, Tua Tagovailoa?
Yeah, I like it because they're just being competitive. And the thing is this, if Penix ends up getting injured again, hey, another lefty is going to be throwing to these players, and you don't have to change up way too much of what you want to do. So I don't know. Like, it's fine. This does nothing. Like, it literally does nothing. I mean, if Tua ends up resurging his career in Atlanta, great. He'll sign a Sam Darnold type deal, and you guys got a franchise quarterback, and hopefully you can use that cheap money. And I don't know. I'm just being honest. A lot of these moves from the Falcons, like Jahan Dotson, should not be getting 15 million. Like, what are we doing? Like, this is just like, I don't know what the Falcons did this free agency. They just decided to just do a bunch of random slop, and that's it. Like, will they be competitive? Yeah, they're in the NFC South. Anyone can be competitive. In the NFC
Nobody
South.
really stands out as like kind of a difference maker. Like, maybe there's the argument that you already have the difference makers on the team, right? Like Drake London, Bijan. You put the franchise tag on Pitts, but like, for a team that needed defensive help and then got a bunch in the draft, are you really, from the 25 draft, are you really doing that much more to help, considering you may not have one of those edge rushers that you drafted and gave up that pick to the Rams, which allowed the Rams to trade for Trent McDuffie? Oof, that's going to be an interesting one. Let's move to the Ravens, who we discussed a little bit earlier with the Max Crosby situation. But the Ravens don't really do too much, right? Like, they do a little bit here and there, a little bit here and there. But the big thing is the Trey Hendrickson acquisition. After they pull back on the Max Crosby trade, they signed Trey Hendrickson 4 years, $112 million, $60 million guaranteed. They bring in John Simpson as well, 3 years, $30 million. They're trying to, I did kind of like the Jalen Hawkins, just like to add depth, because like that secondary last year, it was very hit or miss. When it was on, it was on. But when they were off, it turned really bad. And that's part of why they went with, I think, Jesse Minter and his defensive scheme is to try to, they're like, we can trust Lamar to figure things out. If we get a decent offensive coordinator, we can trust his talent and his legs and Derrick Henry. Really, the question is, how do we figure out the back end? And so that's why they bring in Minter. They sign an edge. They sign a safety. How do you feel about the Ravens' free agent moves? Particularly, I know we discussed it briefly, the idea of Trey Hendrickson over Max Crosby, but how do you feel Trey Hendrickson coming in along with some of these other moves?
Yeah, they'll Trey Hendrickson will get after the quarterback. And we talked about this when we previewed the Ravens last year. We said one of their issues is that they don't get after the quarterback. You have to be able to sack the quarterback. And if there's one thing Trey Hendrickson is really good at, it's getting after the quarterback. He does deserve the deal that Trey Hendrickson is getting. You know, like this is the deal he wanted from the Bengals. The Bengals were like, no, we're not going to give it to you. And I always said, like, look, unfortunately, he's a white edge rusher. White edge rushers, they fall faster than, you know, a lot of other positions in the NFL. So he didn't fall off last year. He had a good bounce back. It wasn't like his previous year where he had like 17 and a half sacks or whatever, or led the league in sacks at that time, but he still did really well last year, Trey Hendrickson. So now they get a pass rusher that will get after the quarterback, and especially one that is familiar with the teams that he is playing. Like he knows these offensive tackles that he's going against. He definitely knows the Bengals offensive tackles. He's going to be like, these guys are jokes. I kick their asses in practice all the time. This is awesome and stuff. So good signing on that part. Jalen Hawkins adds depth to the safeties. Minter, he loves to run three safeties at all times, and Kyle Hamilton will most likely be his Derwin James. Swiss Army knife, kind of place him a little bit everywhere. And then he just needs two other safeties to kind of be back there and play back end defense. So I like these signings. Obviously, Baltimore, they don't have the most money in the world. So they use the money that they had effectively. And they got players that hopefully bolster their chances of them not missing the playoffs this year and be able to make the playoffs and hopefully make a run at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and to just briefly go to someplace like a helper like Tankathon, it has them taking with the pick that they got back. It has them taking Vega Ione inside offensive line from Penn State. And then in that second round, where was it? Chris Brazell. So that's what I was looking for. I was like, when are they going to try to get some wide receiver help for this room? Because it can't just be Zay Flowers. It can't just, you lost Isaiah Likely. You can't just rely on Mark Andrews and Derrick Henry to kind of pull this load. You need to get the passing game going, and you need to have more options. So that second round pick, that's going to be important if they do want to try to bolster the O-line in the first round. Let's turn to another AFC powerhouse, the Buffalo Bills. Now, really, from a offseason perspective, the Buffalo Bills, a big story is the trade for DJ Moore and adding him in there. But from a free agency standpoint, they didn't really do that many moves. They lost Mitch Trubisky to, I think it was the Titans. So they picked up Kyle Allen. I think he was Josh Allen's backup, I want to say, but I don't fully remember that one. But the larger news is similarly to Trey Hendrickson going from a AFC North team to another AFC North team. We have Bradley Chubb moving from an AFC East team to another AFC East team, leaving the Miami Dolphins and coming to the Buffalo Bills. They are sort of trying out this situation, I guess, where they keep bringing in older pass rushers, and for some reason they keep being AFC West at some point in their careers. Like first it was Von Miller, then it was Joey Bosa, now it's Bradley Chubb, who, while yes on the Dolphins, was originally a Denver Bronco. So they bring in Bradley Chubb, 3 years, $43.5 million. Chubb isn't he never was the pass rusher that Von Miller was or that Joey Bosa was, but he's good. Like he's not a bad player in that sense. He will get them sacks. He will create pressure. And I think that's something that Buffalo is really sorely lacking. I think they kind of realized that Joey Bosa wasn't gonna get the job done, unfortunately. And so they're trying to go a little bit younger. But I don't know if that one's gonna play out as well as they are hoping. But how do you feel about the free agency moves? Like it's just a couple people. It's really just defense. And I think it's interesting considering they moved from a defensive head coach to an offensive head coach in Joe Brady, but at least Joe Brady knows who's already in the building.
Yeah. Bradley Chubb, it's a good pickup for them because they need someone on the opposite side of why am I drawing a break of their other Rousseau? They need someone on the opposite side of him.
Yeah.
Chubb is a solid run stopper. He's solid at getting at the quarterback. Does he deserve this type of money he's getting? No, not really, but you're not really paying too much for him. D. Alford, solid signing. I don't think he's going to really do too much for them on the defensive side of the ball. this was just Buffalo doing what they can with the money that they have afforded to them. I mean, they already have, a pretty solid team for the most part. They have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. They just got to get over the hump, and they're hoping that these players that they sign to longer deals instead of signing people to 1 year deals will hopefully, retain cohesion and be able to lead them to the promised land.
Yeah, I mean, Bradley Chubb is for the 2 seasons, he was in Miami for 3 seasons, played for 2 because one of them was lost to injury, but he's averaging 10 sacks. So if he's back to form, then you're going to be able to get a 10 sack, roughly speaking, 10 sacks that you need if you're Buffalo to try to get after the fairly mobile quarterbacks that they have to deal with. Let's turn from the Buffalo Bills to a team that's on the rise. The Carolina Panthers. One of Chase's favorite teams, considering they have his favorite Alabama quarterback of all time, the one that he also says is the best Alabama quarterback of all time, Bryce Young.
He's reunited with John Mechie. It's great.
Look at that. So here you have the Carolina Panthers bringing in none other than Super Bowl champion Kenny Pickett to be the backup quarterback for Bryce Young. I don't know if they just outright released Andy Dalton or they're looking to potentially trade him. But there is a lot to like about what they're doing here. And it's interesting to me because, yes, to your point, they did bring in John Mechie, but a lot of these moves are defensive moves. Jalen Phillips and Devin Lloyd, the 2 big signings, those are defensive moves. It's kind of like they're looking at it and going, we trust Bryce and Tet to figure this out. We are trusting these guys now, and they kind of are forced to, in the sense that they can't really sign that many people because it's time to figure out the Bryce Young contract. And after this season is when, because they declined the 5th year option. With that happening, if Bryce plays well, either you're going to have to franchise tag him or you're going to have to really pay him money. Mm-hmm. And either way, that means you have to keep money available. You can't be giving out big contracts. That Jalen Phillips contract, 4 years, $120 million. I want to see the details on that because, to your point, for a lot of these deals that we see in the NFL, they really are not the full terms of what we see. So because this doesn't have in parentheses like the guaranteed money, I really want to know how they're doing all this and how they're figuring this out. This is an interesting one to see. What do you like about the Carolina Panthers free agency class?
I really like Devin Lloyd. I think he had a really good season for the Jacksonville Jaguars last season. So this was a good pickup because they get, a very smart linebacker that will do good things in that Carolina Panthers defense. Jalen Phillips, it's more of this contract's based off his age. He's still very, very young. He has high potential. He looked good for his first 2 years with the Dolphins, and then he suffered that knee injury. And then it's just been kind of up and down with Jalen Phillips. And, we thought the Eagles, oh, great, they got a steal in Jalen Phillips via trade. They're just going to have this great edge rush. And he didn't really pan out too well for the Eagles when he got there. So this is more, they're paying him based off potential, and hopefully he becomes the player that everyone thinks he can become. Because if he ends up like how he was his first 2 years on the Dolphins, oh man, he's gonna be a monster. Absolute monster.
Yeah. Let's turn to your NFC team, the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
Not a lot on offense, but realistically, you don't really need that much on offense if you're the Bears. I like the trade. The trade for Garrett Bradbury. It's not like a really crazy player compared to Drew Dalman, but it's better than Drew Dalman leaving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not having anything behind him. So adding him in there, it didn't cost much to get Bradbury. Maybe they draft somebody in the 3rd or 4th round and try to develop over time, but at least you're shoring up the offensive line considering that loss. Really, it's a defense, right? And this was a defense that was already pretty fearsome in the 2025 season, but part of what made them so fearsome was the turnovers. And turnovers they're not a sticky stat. because it's so easy to have regression to the mean, worse versus something like sacks, because sacks, like, you really are getting after the quarterback. You really are finding ways to break through an offensive line over time. For some turnovers, it can just be a tip drill ball. It can just be a lucky hit that lodged the ball out and created a fumble. Can you really count on turnovers continuing to be there year after year? You can't. So you have to try to address what's going on in this defense. And this is a team that for years has tried to replace Roquan Smith after they lost him to the Ravens. And Devin Bush is now the latest in a long series of people who the Chicago Bears front office is bringing in to try to replace the impact or the success that Roquan Smith brought to the team by anchoring that mid level. And they're hoping that Devin Bush is going to be able to do that on a 3-year, $30 million deal. I do like the safety signing from Seattle, Kobe Bryant, just helping that secondary. They lost Brisker, but they bring in Bryant. Hopefully he's going to be able to turn the tide. How do you feel about the Bears signings?
Yeah, I really like what they did, especially with Kobe Bryant and Devin Bush. Devin Bush has been up and down in his career, but for 10 mil a year, kind of worth it for this athletic linebacker. So hopefully, at least for 2 of these 3 years, he ends up being a very solid hand for the Chicago Bears. The Kobe Bryant deal I like because he probably could have demanded for a lot more money than what he got. And especially, it's part of once a team wins a Super Bowl and they have a lot of players coming off the books, those players tend to get a little bit overpaid. And this is a slight overpay, but not one that's egregious. And they get a player that is a winning player in Kobe Bryant, very solid in coverage, tackling hit or miss sometimes. But I do like this pickup for them. Overall, I feel like the Bears they did enough with the money that they had afforded to them, and they were able to kind of just fill in a little bit of the holes that they have on their roster and add some depth where they really need it. So that way you don't have to have it where Joe Thuney has to play tackle when he's a really great guard. Like Jedrick Wills is a great pickup. Retaining Braxton Jones on just a $5 million deal, up to 10 million if he can just reach his incentives, which I'm pretty sure is just stay on the fucking field. So
Let's turn to the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals lost Trey Hendrickson. Well, I don't think they really had a good chance of re-signing him, to be honest. But they try to help this defense out. Every dollar that you see here is going to the defense and the offensive line, the two key things that the Bengals have needed for a very long time. They retain the services of Dalton Risner on a 1-year deal, and then they bring in Boye Mafa, Brian Cook, and defensive tackle Jonathan Allen. They're not like super flashy moves, like they're just designed to try to help out this defense as much as they can, because if this defense even got closer to being middle of the road, you already know what that offense is going to do. How do you feel about these three guys joining the Cincinnati Bengals in 2026?
Yeah, Jonathan Allen adds great veteran defensive presence to that defensive line. They needed someone that can also just be really good at not just stopping the runs, but also can get after the quarterback, which Allen is pretty solid at as a defensive tackle. Boye Mafe, this is the classic. This team won the Super Bowl. We have to overpay for this player. I don't, it's not like Boye Mafe has shown flashes of, this guy can be a really great edge rusher. He's just not that. And they paid him money like he could be a great edge rusher. So not fan of that. Brian Cook, he was fine for the Chiefs. I don't remember him as much. Like he never really haunted me when they played the Chiefs and stuff. So this may be like, oh shit, Kobe Bryant got this money. We have to give Brian Cook this money. And it's like, did you? So
we'll stay
all overpays that they did.
And that's what
Jonathan Allen at this point, like,
that was the thing. That was the thing that kind of stood out to me, because I was looking at it going, if you're a defensive free agent and the Cincinnati Bengals are calling your agent, then your agent is calling you. You have to look at this and go, I'm going to have to do a lot of work. Like if I join the Bengals, I'm going to be asked to do a lot of work. This team really doesn't give a shit about its defense. I get that my offense can potentially help us, like drag us to wins, but in order to get those wins, like I'm going to have to I better be getting paid for this. And so it's tough sometimes, like what you've done by kind of, I wouldn't say overpaying, but like allocating so much money to three players in Burrow, Chase, and Higgins. Like obviously they deserve the money, but like you have to cut corners elsewhere. And eventually that bites you in the ass because like now free agents are going, you're going to have to pay me if you want me to join this team. Or
Yeah.
if you're the Bengals, you have to just try to build the draft. And I think that they're going to be going on a defensive, similarly to what we saw last year with Atlanta. I think the Bengals are going to be going on a bit of a defensive spree and getting what O-line help they can through the draft. But let's stay in the AFC North and turn to the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland, like, there's not much that the Browns did. Like, they are trying to build this offensive line, which the Browns never struck me as having like that bad of an offensive line, but they also never struck me as having that good of an offensive line. So, it's kind of hard sometimes to gauge it because offensive line contracts are starting to get to that point if it's more than like like a 3-year deal or even a 2-year deal where sometimes it looks a little bit artificially inflated due to the scarcity at the position of players that can play it even at a decent rate. So how they continue to try to restructure this damn Deshaun Watson contract to try to free up money. All of that money like immediately goes. And that's why there's somebody like David Njoku who is now, on the sidelines. It's fascinating that he was at the trade deadline celebrating the fact that he was going to remain a Cleveland Brown. And as it turned out, he was only going to remain a Cleveland Brown for a few more months because he is a free agent. And I mean, there's teams calling him, but we'll see how that goes. I mean, I know that the Browns have Fannin, so they're looking at it going, we can afford to just sign Jack Stoll on a 1-year deal and have somebody just behind Fannin. If Quinshon Judkins is fully back for week 1, ultimately the question is going to be who is going to be the quarterback because Shador, of course, is there, but you do have like Watson will be, technically speaking, he'll be ready to go and ready to play. Can he beat out Shador, or should the question better be phrased, can Shador beat out Deshaun Watson? How do you feel about the Browns moves?
Overpaying. Zion Johnson, come on, man. Like 16 and a half per year for Zion. What are we doing? Like he's not that great of a guard. Like this is like what you give to like one of the top guards. Like if this is Joe Thuney. Oh yeah, I get it. Yeah, 16.5 million a year. What a steal. But for Zion Johnson, who has just been average, like you look at the Chargers offensive line last year, yeah, he was the best one, but the rest of the Chargers offensive line sucked. So I don't know why he's getting paid. Elkton Jenkins, it's like, all right, cool. Very good player, versatile player, can play guard, can play center. I don't know. I'm not feeling any of these signings, not feeling any of the players they retained. It's the Browns. My boy Shador, he has to carry this team on his back. It's all right. My young prince, you'll be free soon enough.
I mean, this is a team that per Tankathon at least 106 are taking Spencer Fano. So like and then now it has them taking Anthony Hill Jr. at the top of the second round, linebacker, and is there anything else? Davidson Ingaboson, cornerback from Ohio State in round 3. So I mean, help could technically be on the way for the things that they need. We shall see. Let's turn to the Dallas Cowboys, and the Cowboys had an very interesting free agency situation. Obviously, we didn't get a chance to talk about the trade for Rashawn Gary. It broke after we had our show last week, but they trade for Rashawn Gary, sent a 4th-round pick to the Packers. It's interesting that they're just like getting like
the Packers D line.
Yeah, it's like first it was Kenny Clark, now it's Rashawn Gary. It's like, okay, all right. We're gonna see a little bit later another team basically by like trade and brute force acquire the secondary of another team. But this is a Cowboys move or Cowboys situation where I'm like, okay, what I want to see like what you're trying to do here. And PJ Locke very well. I know PJ Locke very well. Former Broncos safety, not a bad pickup, and it's on a cheap deal, 1 year, $5 million. And PJ Locke showed that he's not a starter, but like he's a great fill-in guy. He
Mhm.
basically was the guy that stepped up when Brandon Jones had his injury last year. And maybe that's the idea here. He's supposed to be the depth piece to someone like a Jalen Thompson. I don't know if like there's nothing really that stands out here other than figuring out what they're going to do with the George Pickens contract, but that's not a free agency signing. So how do you feel about the free agency moves and the trade for Rashawn Gary?
I like the Sean Gary trade. I mean, they didn't give up much to get him, and you're not getting a player in the fourth round better than Rashawn Gary, so I like that. Jalen Thompson, that was like kind of weird. The Cardinals didn't try to keep him out of all players because I was like, he played well for them. I get he's like older, like older in terms of NFL players, like he's like 28, 29 ish, right? So it's like we don't want to give him that money, but out of all the safeties that we saw already, like Kobe Bryant and who the Bengals signed, it's like Jalen Thompson's a better player than both those guys. He's good in coverage. Why wouldn't you want to keep a guy like Jalen Thompson or have this guy? So to get him for just 11 mil a year, kind of like it for the Cowboys. I mean, he's going to be solid for them. Will he be a game changer? No, not really. But in terms of a player for the price that you pay for, you got him at good market value, in my opinion. So that's all I could really say. I like the Jalen Thompson. Everything else, like Otito, he played for the Chargers, really solid nose tackle. Like what are you trying to have? Like this big D line, you can't run the ball on us. Like, is this like their end goal? Like Kenny Clark, Quinton Williams, Rashawn Gary, and Otito. It's like, oh, okay, try to run the ball on us. Like, okay, sure. They also re-signed your boy Javonte Williams, which
Yeah.
he earned the contract, but still, you probably could have gone to Tyler Algier instead. But
Yeah, I mean, I do like the Javante signing for them simply because like he does know the system already. Like I'd rather go with the devil I know than the devil I don't in Algier, and like they already have Jaden Blue and Phil Maffa behind him as people who can like pick up something along the way and try to help out. There are two teams, and I'm kind of giving the plot away, but there are two teams that so far have not signed anybody new. The first of which is the defending Super Bowl champions, the Seattle Seahawks. The other is a team that probably should have been in the Super Bowl had their quarterback not broken his ankle, and that is the Denver Broncos with Bo Nix. The Broncos have not signed anybody new, which is very annoying. I thought they were in the Algier market. They were not. They weren't even interested in him. I thought, okay, well then maybe they would go after someone like Travis Etienne. Apparently, they got outbid by the Saints. They came into the free agency market with about 20 to 24 million dollars of cap space, and a lot of that went to retaining guys that they already had. Now they have released Dre Greenlaw, and there's an update on that situation that we will get to when we get to the team that signed him. Plot twist, it's the 49ers on a 1-year deal. They brought him back.
Oh, shocker.
They brought him back.
I suppose they didn't go to the tight ends, go back with Salah.
Maybe there was that was an option on the table, but Denver instead of keeping Greenlaw, they retain the services of Justin Strnad and Alex Singleton. Obviously, we go out of our way to praise Alex Singleton for the great things that he does, not just because he's a friend of the show, but because he is the green dot. And there are people in Broncos country or whatever you want to call the fan base that are upset about Alex Singleton signing. I personally am not, because I know that Vance Joseph has endorsed him, and I'll take Vance Joseph's endorsement over anybody sitting on their couch talking about what they think about a player on their team. And generally speaking, like if you are so what we were talking about earlier at the start of the show, like the idea of people having to now spend time going, is this a good player? Like, let me watch the tape and so on and so forth. Like from that perspective, a lot of people are saying we needed to sign XYZ or, whatever the case is. And it's like, you don't know those people. Like you really don't know those players. We as a fan base know what Alex Singleton is. We know what Justin Strnad is, and we know what they're going to be able to provide to the team. I think that there are ways that that Denver could have gotten better. Obviously, like if you were a offensive skill position player, like the question was, who were they going to sign? The best wide receiver, arguably, in this wide receiver class was Mike Evans. And I don't know if I want Mike Evans on the Broncos. I want somebody who's going to be around for a couple of years, not somebody like that I know is going to be around for a couple of years, and not somebody who is really starting to get hit with aging issues and really starting to get hit with injury concerns. I already know what that is with J.K. Dobbins. That's why I was hoping that they were going to get Tyler Algier. But to see them kind of, in essence, really run it back, I'm very intrigued. Like, this is now a team to me that I'm intrigued to see what they do with the draft. And is there a potential trade that they're going to do with the 30th overall pick? Because they're like, if we want offensive skill position help, that's where we're going to have to get it. I don't think that Kate Otten would have made much of a difference. I don't think that a lot of these players would have helped. So what were you really going to do like on defense? Like, that's really, really the question was figuring out the linebacker position and figuring out the running back position. And I'd much rather trust Sternad and Singleton to get the job done if that's who Vance wants than bringing in somebody new to try to learn Vance's system. So is there anything that stands out to you more about, like, I guess the Broncos not signing anybody versus like who they retained?
Yeah, I think they just wanted to keep cohesion and familiarity in the locker room. I think that was like the main thing. They tried, like, the only one that embraced the Broncos culture last year who they signed was Holofunga, and he was like a game changer for them. And then Greenlaw, it was just with injuries, and then he got suspended because he did something stupid after a game and all that other stuff. Like, it's just one of those things that just didn't pan out. Like, you thought it was going to be a great idea, but I'm just surprised they got Sternard on this contract. Like, I felt Sternard was one of those players that could potentially go to another team, and the team overpays for, like, the potential of what Justin Sternard can be. And the fact that, they got him for this, like, I think is a very team-friendly deal. Like, Justin Sternard, like, could have signed somewhere else and gotten more money. And also same for Alex Singleton. He could have easily gotten paid a little bit more from another team. Like, I mean, the guaranteed money is nice. 11 million guaranteed is very nice. But I felt both those players could have easily gone to other teams that were needy at linebacker or who were going to lose their linebackers and say, we might have to give them a little bit more money and maybe a longer contract. But to retain both of them who are familiar with Vance Josephs, Singleton, especially when he came back after his cancer scare, he was playing some of the best football of his career. So really, to be honest, like, and especially in the pass coverage sense, that's been what the one knock with Alex was that, fans were saying, oh, he's a great run stuffer, but when it comes to pass coverage, it's kind of bad. And he was playing really well in pass coverage the last few games. And I think it's with guys like Singleton, Sternard, familiar with the system that they're in, they just play a lot more looser and a lot better. And I think that's what they looked at. Like, hey, we could either sign a linebacker and give them a bunch of money, or we can try to see if we can get these guys on hometown discounts and see if they want to keep playing. And obviously both Singleton and Sternard, who I both felt, could have got paid elsewhere, decided to stay. Especially, like I said, Sternard, he could have easily made like 10, 12 mil a year for Green Bay Packers. Alex could have easily made, around the same, like his 11 million guaranteed, probably 11, 12 million a year for another team too. But they decided to stay with the Broncos, and I think the Broncos did a good job keeping them. But yeah, it is kind of weird they have not signed some fresh new faces, especially more on the offense. I don't think defense really you need to sign fresh new faces. I think the defense is what the defense is. Maybe just add a depth piece. But offensively, I'm like, guys, you guys got to add.
They got to get a wide receiver.
You got to add some juice on the, you got to add some juice to this offense. Like, that's what the Broncos are missing, is just that little extra juice and stuff. And there's some players that signed where I'm like, that could have been a Denver Bronco. That could have been a Denver Bronco. And I'm not saying they're perfect scheme fits, but they add that extra juice, because offensive line, the Broncos, they're pretty much set there. They don't it's like a top 10 unit in the NFL when you look at it. But receiver and running back, it's like, hey, you guys got to add a little juice to that position. And I'm not saying like game changers, but guys that, bring something a little bit different and bring something of a speed factor. And
I think the thing for Denver is that, like, they need a prototypical wide receiver one, because as much as I love Courtland Sutton as a player, he is more of a wide receiver two at this point. Like, he's supposed to be the secondary guy, and it's more supposed to be Troy Franklin. And Troy Franklin has played very well, but like, he has now played with Bo Nix 4 years in a row. Like, you this year you gotta it's gotta be you, buddy. Like it's gotta be you.
Well,
And
also
Pat Bryant,
count his time in college too.
that's what I said, 4 years. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
If this will be the fifth year this season,
yeah.
upcoming season. And Pat Bryant's taken a step, been a great player. But like if you look at this year, which is this past year, which is supposed to be like a lot of people are touting as like Troy Franklin's taking the step forward. If you do the comparison between him and Pat Bryant has roughly the same stats, just like at the rate of targets that he's getting. So if that's what we're getting out of Pat Bryant, who this is his first year ever playing with Bo Nix, I would anticipate that I should be seeing a much better ratios, like percentages of catches, percentages of yardage, and so on and so forth from Troy Franklin if you have the chemistry built in with this quarterback that you've played for all these years. The fact that he doesn't, or that it's not there yet, that's what has me concerned. So I'm like, okay, yeah, they do need to bring in a wide receiver who is going to be able to potentially do that with Bo. Now, from the defensive side of things, this is a defense that was third in points allowed, second in yards allowed, led the league in sacks, and had a relatively good turnover ratio. What more players are you going to be able to get that are going to be able to pull off something that is going to help you that much more? Like, yes, Stranad and Singleton, maybe they're not the best in coverage, but Singleton is out there calling plays for Vance Joseph. I much prefer that over bringing in somebody new because I already know I'm third in points allowed. I already know I'm second in yards allowed. I already know I'm leading the league in sacks. I'm not going to, unless you're bringing in who are you going to bring in? Unless you're bringing in Roquan Smith of 3 years ago, there's not really that much better that you're going to be able to get for the amount of money that you need to pay, considering I have those 2024 contracts I gotta start thinking about, aka I'm gonna have to start if I'm the front office, I gotta figure out how I'm gonna get $50 to $60 million a year as a cap hit to pay Bo Nix, because in his second year he took this team to the AFC Championship game, and but for his foot would have been playing in the Super Bowl. So it's like that guy's earned the money the same way anybody could argue Drake May has earned the money. So we'll see how this goes. But let's turn to the Detroit Lions. The Lions lost some people. They lost Alex Anzalone, but they trade for Juice Struggs. They bring in Cade Mays. They bring in Rock Ya-Sin. It's a weird free agency class to me. What intrigues me the most, and we talked about this when we talked about the trade that sent David Montgomery to the Texans, is what were the Lions going to do for a thumper, for a between the tackles runner? And they sign, we don't know the exact terms, but they sign Isaiah Pacheco.
I know the terms. It's 1 year, 1.7 million.
Okay. What? Wait, what? Jesus.
Yeah. The
1.7.
Yeah, 1.7 million. The Lions, he signed a J.K. Dobbins deal when J.K. signed with the Chargers. So it's just all incentives based and stuff.
Yikes.
But the Lions, honestly, they just did they're just like, hey, look, this is the classic. The team signed all their draft picks. They paid Aleem McNeil a bunch of money, Aiden Hutchinson a bunch of money. They have Goff with a bunch of money. Gibbs got extended. Amon-Ra, Jamison Williams. So you're gonna be strapped, and so the Lions had to just fill in holes. That's all they did with these pickups were fill in holes, and hey, hopefully it works out. And they did release Taylor Decker, so there's a good offensive tackle that is available for teams. I don't know, he probably resigned or probably signed with another team or something like that. But really, to be honest, the Lions, they did what they had to do and rebuilt this roster to what they can with the money is afforded to them. It happens when you sign all these players and stuff. Cade Mays coming in, that's a pretty solid center pickup. He was probably the last center available that was really good, but it is what it is. So yeah, solid pickups overall.
Yeah, there's really not. It's not like there's nothing that you can really point out as terrible.
Yeah,
I'm interested. To me, it's can Isaiah Pacheco fit in as David Montgomery? Because if he can, then this offense continues to move pretty much without a problem. Yeah. If he can't, then we have some concerns because a lot of people underrated what it is that David Montgomery brought to the Lions as an
Hmm.
offense. So that's going to be to me what really is that's the linchpin of this free agency class. Let's stay in the NFC North. Let's go to Green Bay Packers. Javon Hargrave. That I think is the big one. Benjamin St. Just. That's also a nice pick up there. Really, the trade for Zaire Franklin with the Colts. The Colts trying to get people off the books because they're going to spam out of money that they're going to spend on two people. Fascinating, but getting Zaire Franklin from the Colts, that's really cool for them for the Packers because yeah, pairing this guy with a Micah Parsons, that is a really interesting, really interesting linebacking room. And you have Javon Hargrave on the D line. There's not really much that you I don't like about this. The only thing I do find interesting is I know they lost Romeo Dobbs. Will they be addressing wide receiver in the
What do
draft?
you mean? They
Because
got more.
okay, well, will he be
Him
addressing
and
wide
Matthew
receiver?
Golden can talk about how we have ugly numbers for wide receivers. They're like, "Hey, I wore 24. I heard you were 22. Bold choice."
Will they be addressing wide receiver in the draft, or are we anticipating that Matthew Golden is going to be much more of the wide receiver one? Like Christian Watson is very hit or miss. Jaden Reed, we don't exactly know how he's going to be looking after the fully returns to the injury, but like he was showing flashes when he was the few games that he was back. It's just such an interesting that wide receiver room is so in flux right now that nobody really has cemented themselves as like the guy. And then there's just Tucker Kraft who's going to be coming off an ACL. Like, hey guys, I'm the real leader of this team when it comes to catching passes. I want to see how Green Bay pivots from Josh Jacobs because Jacobs is really it's the slowdown is happening. We really were seeing that, and they're trying to use the Chris Brookses of the world and Malcolm Lloyds as the change of pace guys. But I don't know, like the Josh Jacobs. I'm not saying it's like going to fall off a cliff or like turn into Nick Chubb or Joe Mixon, obviously because he's not injured. It's not from an injury, but like this slowdown is happening. How they address the running back position, I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers are in the market for one of these running backs coming out of the draft. Like if they decide to go and get somebody like an Emmett Johnson from Nebraska, that'll be interesting to me. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, the Packers, they're just strapped. They gave 2 big money contracts to a quarterback and to an edge rusher. You have no money. You have to fill in what you can do. This is the best that they can do, man. That's it. I have really nothing much to say. I don't think these moves do too much for the Green Bay Packers ultimately. Like St. Just was fine last year for the Chargers. Hargrave, hit or miss. You know, some games he looks great, some games he looks whatever. Same with Zaire Franklin. Like Zaire Franklin is a talented player, but he didn't pan out well enough for the Colts to want to give him big money. So yeah.
This is one of those situations where like I'm trying to figure out how the crowdsourced information on Tankathon works. Because the Packers don't have their first round pick, right? They send that to the Cowboys. So for the second round pick, Tankathon is suggesting Keith Abney, the second from Arizona State, cornerback. And then in the third round, it is suggesting Devin Moore, cornerback from Florida. I just have a hard time thinking that they're going to take back-to-back spots, cornerbacks in when they don't have a first round pick. Like there's like, especially because like, okay, right now it's saying pick 84, Devin Moore, cornerback. Pick 85, the Steelers, Jacoby Lane. I don't think Jacoby Lane's like that great of a wide receiver, but like if you're already taking a cornerback, that's where you could take a wide receiver. Or like pick 94 in the third round, they have Denver taking Mike Washington Jr. Maybe that's where you try to go running back instead. Try to go Washington at pick 84 instead of letting him fall to Denver. Who knows? But there's a lot of room that they need to. There's a lot of people that they need to figure things out for with Green Bay. Ooh, a team that money is a money, like, you know, to quote the Pitbull first album, money is a major issue. The Houston Texans. They have a very good defense, and they have to pay for that defense. And part of the way that they're paying for that defense is the news or like the reports of what's going on with CJ Stroud's contract. And we don't know what's going to happen with CJ Stroud's
Yeah.
contract. But the way they're spending some of this money, it looks like they don't know what's going to happen with CJ Stroud's contract. Or like they're anticipating, hey, let's figure this out. Like if we win and CJ proves that he really is the guy, then we'll figure out how to restructure deals and do all these sorts of things. Because if you're going to re-signing CJ Stroud, who else was in that draft class?
Well, I understand.
And you're gonna have to pay, like you're gonna have to make sure he's getting his money too. So maybe you can afford to do the 40 million extension for Daniel Hunter for one season. But the Reed Blankenships of the world, Logan Halls of the world, like that Reed Blankenship, the Logan Hall contract isn't bad like at all. It's just 3.5. But like that Reed Blankenship one, that's really I don't know exactly what's going on there. The Braden Smith one, you kind of were forced into this hole when you traded away two offensive linemen back to back. You traded away Titus, like a right tackle, and then you traded away an offensive lineman, and you're like, okay, well now we got to sign somebody, and so now you're on a 2-year, 20 mil, up to 25 mil deal for an offensive lineman. It's how do you feel about this one?
I don't like any of these moves. It's like the Texans are just spending money just to spend money. Like Reed Blankenship, he's been fine for the Eagles for so many years, but it's like, why give him this kind of contract? Like you didn't need help at safety. You have good safeties already. Like what are we doing? Like a lot of this just feels like you said, they don't know what they're doing with CJ Stroud, or maybe it's just like a lot of these contracts they feel like they can just get off of. They probably have a lot of expiring deals the following year, so they felt comfortable doing these signings. But
Yeah.
I don't know. None of these signings really like come out to me and say, "Wow, well, look what the Texans like." The Texans are going to do what they're going to perform well. Their defense is still going to be good. They most likely are going to be one of the favorites to be a wild card or come out of the AFC South. But yeah, a lot of these signings were just kind of puzzling, and they're still not done because there's some players that uh, are going to be off their like tenders that the teams placed on them, and so the Texans might be going after a Wyatt Teller, and like now you're paying another guard a bunch of money. Like, what are we
I
doing?
mean, as of right now on FanDuel, they are the favored to win the AFC South plus 160 with Jacksonville plus 190. Yeah, there's how they navigate this CJ Stroud contract situation. I really want to see.
It feels like the Saints, where how like the Saints just kept like they just felt they had the roster, so they kept signing and re-signing guys and overpaying and doing all this money stuff. Like that's what the Texans
it
feel right
feels.
now.
You know what else?
They're just trying to find ways to be competitive, which is great, but still.
Do you know what this feels like though? It feels like it's sort of the situation with Kyler Murray, where they're going to end up overpaying CJ Stroud when he hasn't really done much.
They have no choice. It's franchise quarterback. That's just how it works.
Oof. Let's turn. All right, let's turn to the Indianapolis Colts. This one's a funny one. The Arden Key and Michael Clemens, respectfully, sirs, you're not the story here.
Yeah.
The story is the two guys that they retained. We'll start with the easier one to talk about, which is the Daniel Jones contract. They offered him, I think it was 3 years, 100 mil, and he was like, "Yeah, that's not good. That's not going to work for me, brother." And so they end up with a 2-year, 88 mil, 60 mil guaranteed, and up to 100 mil. So I'm like, "Oh Jesus, wow, that's a huge contract for a guy that was, I mean, in his defense, was playing absolutely bonkers considering what Daniel Jones has done previously. But the question is that small sample size indicative of what's going to happen in the future? Or is the previous stuff that we saw what's going to happen in the future? One of the ways to kind of make sure that happens is to retain some of the players he was playing with. And that is none other than Alex Pierce, who becomes the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. Now, you and I have talked about this before, the idea of these highest paid such and such being like a little bit of a misnomer because of just how much the salary cap has gone up. So it's not really as big of a thing as like you would think. But if there was ever going to be a player that we thought, oh, reset the market on what it means to be the highest paid wide receiver, we would not have said it was Alex Pierce. Like we were like, okay, so the Malik Neighbors contract got done. Like, what's like, what was, and even then we would be talking about whether or not it was an overpay, considering Malik Neighbors is now kind of injury history. So Alex Pierce, congratulations, sir. Congratulations to you, your agent, your family. That's generational, life-changing money. Make sure you hold on to it, and you do your best not to lose it, because I don't know if whatever you've been doing is going to be that replicable down the road, and I don't know what's going to happen to just generally speaking. Nobody knows the future. But how do you feel about this? Really, this just the retaining of Alex Pierce, Daniel Jones, and sort of doubling down on, we think we're going to be able to win with the squad that we have.
Yeah, the Alex Pierce contract's ridiculous. Like he was just like a good wide receiver too.
Yeah.
I felt like they were just going to give him like something like 4 years, 80 million, something like that, like maybe 20 million a year or something like that. But no, they went full bonkers. He's making like close to 30 million a year. I think at 1 year he's going to be making like 35 million a year. So it's not an easy contract to get out of. And they showed they were all in on Alex Pierce because they also traded Michael Pittman away. They said, "All right, we're done with the Pittman business. We're in the Alex Pierce business." Look, Alex Pierce is nice. I like him as a deep ball receiver. He's not the fastest, but he knows how to catch those deep balls. He boxes out players like he's a NBA power forward and just gets that rebound. Like, he's a good player. It's just for 116 million. It's just like, oh my God, what are we doing? Like, and keep in mind, Alex Pierce was not a first round wide receiver. He was a second round wide receiver that they drafted. So now you're resetting the market for a lot of second round wide receiver type talents. Like, like it's one thing, like if Alex Pierce was like, I'm just going to use Lad McConkey as an example, where it's like Lad McConkey, potential wide receiver one for the Chargers. No one on the Colts were looking at Alex Pierce as like, oh yeah, this guy's our wide receiver one. Like, they looked at him as high end wide receiver two. And now they're paying him like he is one of the best receivers in the NFL. And when you look at it, it's like, okay, is Alex Pierce even in the same realm of, like a Jamar Chase, a Justin Jefferson, a Puka Nacua? No, like Alex Pierce is probably on the outside looking in of top 10 wide receivers in the NFL. And now it's time to see if he can flourish into that position. I don't know.
This is a guy that
this is a contract I expect the Panthers and the Jaguars to give to Alex Pierce.
Right. Like, this is a situation where like he was in the fourth year of his rookie contract, and he finally cracks 1,000 yards, and he does it by 3. It was 1,003 yards. Now, granted, 47 catches. So he did it on a low volume of catches, but he had 84 targets. So like his catch rate is what, like a bit over half. Yeah, it's like 56%.
And
like,
a lot of Alex Pierce's balls are like literally deep balls, like where either Rivers was overthrowing or Daniel Jones, like because they always ran those like it, we'll just throw it deep type plays. Like, that's why I don't like it, because it's not like Alex Pierce is not like a Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Puka Nacua, where they can catch 90 to 120 receptions and get like 1,400 yards. But at least I know I can throw to these guys 90 to 100 times. Like, if Alex Pierce, like let's just say he caught 80, like 60 to 87 targets, sure, maybe he's a 1,300 yard wide receiver, but still, it's like I don't know. It's like this is just gross overpay.
What is really interesting is going to be, if you look at what the pass charts for the Colts from last year, the leading target was Tyler Warren with 112 targets. The second leading was Michael Pittman with 111, which is one less than Warren. So that's 111 targets that are going to get freed up and have to be distributed between Pierce, Warren, Downs, and whoever they get in the draft, because now you're going to need another wide receiver. Because with the Pittman trade, I think a lot of these are going to be force fed. Like, you would have to imagine they're going to be force feeding
100%.
Pierce, because like you're paying him the money. And so like a part of this is, how does this affect your overall offensive strategy? And a part of this also is, you're basically you're paying Jameson Williams to be Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't know if that's going to work out. I don't know if it's gonna, like, if it does, I mean, hey, more power to you. And this is going to be an offense that can really go far in the playoffs because, like, you have Jonathan Taylor, you have Tyler Warren. It helps relieve the pressure off of Daniel Jones. He doesn't have to be spectacular. He can just be a Sam Darnold and get you where you need to go. So we'll see how this goes. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they don't really make a lot of moves. There's not really that much to talk about. The real thing to talk about when it comes to the Jaguars is that they lost Travis Etienne. They did not try to re-sign Travis Etienne. They instead pivot to get Chris Rodriguez on a 2-year, $10 million deal from the Washington Commanders. This is turning into the Bashal Tutin show when it comes to the running back room. LaQuint Allen and Chris Rodriguez are there to be change of pace backs. I really want to see, like, we know that a chunk of money went to Jacoby Myers in his extension. So we'll see how all this pans out, especially if they are going to be dedicated to the Travis Hunter being more of a full-time cornerback than wide receiver. And if they are going to really try to figure out what do we got to do to help BTJ figure things out coming into this next season. I mean, obviously he shouldn't have a wrist injury. So that should be fine. But, like, there are things like muscle memory, things that you have to build out of just bad habits. The way he was making catches because of what was going on with his wrist, that's going to be an off-season training camp thing to see if they can adjust it. Is there anything, like, because they barely did anything, is there anything that stands out to you from the Jaguars? To me, it's just that they lost Etienne.
Yeah, they just replaced Etienne. They like Tutin, and they got a guy that will complement Tutin and Rodriguez. That's it.
Well, let's turn to
yeah, man, we're back.
All right. You know, I waited long enough. Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, man.
How do you feel about the Kenneth Walker signing?
This is great, man. Finally, a running back, but most importantly, my man Travis is back, man. Y'all don't understand. The kingdom is back in business. We got some guys on defense and stuff, but that doesn't matter, man. I finally have a running back, man. About damn time. No more 7th rounders. No more Kareem Hunt. Finally got a good running back, man. And not only that, a winner like me, man. A Super Bowl MVP. This is great, man. I love it.
Yeah, I'm kind of annoyed about this. I'm not going to lie.
You know, the Chiefs did well with the money that they had afforded. Obviously, bringing Kelsey back, good for locker room morale. Tyquan Thornton, there was times where he did bust open in the coverage and you felt that he was going to make a big play. So maybe one more year under this scheme, he can be kind of like Tyreek Hill discount. They still have money if they want to go after like a Jawan Jennings or maybe reunite the band. Like, fuck it, get Tyreek Hill back. Let's see if he still has some legs and stuff. The Gilman signing is a really good signing because not only does he have familiarity playing in the AFC West, but he did well when he went to the Ravens. And it was one of those players where it's like, you know, the Ravens didn't retain. They ended up, you know, just letting him walk. And so they replaced the safety they lost with a guy that I think is a better player. Chris Tonga, he's just one of those guys that, you know, is going to do well for you on the defense side of the ball. But also, Andy Reid loves his gimmick plays where he throws like a big-ass defensive tackle at fullback, and you know he can do that. But getting K9, very good pickup because he fits what the Chiefs want to do. They do need to find like a good complimentary back. Maybe Kareem Hunt stays for one more year, and then that's their complimentary back to Kenneth Walker because the one issue with K9 is, you know, the durability issue.
Yeah.
But in terms of running the football, this guy is patient. He's fast. He fits the need of what the Chiefs were missing was a very good running back to pair up with Patrick Mahomes. So now they just need to figure out who their de facto wide receiver one is going to be, whether that is a Jawan Jennings or maybe they draft someone in this upcoming draft. But I thought the Chiefs, they did very well with the money that, you know, was given to them because of the Mahomes restructure. And not only that, they got, you know, the good morale boost. They got to keep Travis Kelce. Yes, Kelsey's not the same player, but in terms of locker room morale and just having a guy, you want it back. And especially you look at this AFC, the two main teams are the Bills and the Ravens. and you look at it and you say, can we beat those teams? And if you're the Chiefs, you feel confident. Yes, we can beat those teams. Okay, bam. Get the players that you feel like can win. So really liked what the Chiefs did. They've had such a good offseason so far for what they can do, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I hate it from the perspective of AFC West, I mean, from the perspective of the Chiefs, it has to, like, this is a great group of guys to bring in, and obviously it's anchored by that Kenneth Walker situation. If they are able to figure out a good pairing, him, Rashad Smith, that is a very dangerous, very, very dangerous combination, because Kenneth Walker is, like, a good pass catching back too. But what really worked in favor for the Seahawks was having someone like Zach Charbonnet. So the question is going to be, who is your RB2? And when it comes to figuring out an RB2, like, that's not that hard of a thing to do. Eric Bieniemy has to be kind of like licking his chops going, all right, this is what this offense is going to look like going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And to no surprise, the Chiefs are poised. They are the favorite to win the AFC West on FanDuel plus 175, but they are tied with the next team we're going to talk about. And since we already talked about the Raiders, we can skip past them and we talk about the other favorite in the AFC West, also plus 175, the Los Angeles Chargers. We got the news earlier today that Keaton Mitchell, running back from the Baltimore Ravens, had agreed to terms with the Chargers. So, Chase, take it away. Talk to me about the Chargers and their free agency class and everything that they've done.
Yeah, a lot of Chargers fans are very frustrated with the Chargers right now because they're like, oh, they're not doing enough. They're not doing enough. And I'm like, guys, there's the thing with Joe Ortiz, he's very comp pick. Like it's like a Ravens strategy. He just doesn't want to give up comp picks and stuff. So he's not re-signing. He's not going after players right now. He's waiting until that exclusive window is closed, and then we will see more money going their way. I like that they kept Pipkins and Trevor Penning. I know everyone's gonna be like, they both sucked. Yeah, Trey Pipkins is not a good starter, but he's a great swing tackle in case Rashawn Slater or Joel go down, or if we need someone to play at guard. He can play those four positions. Does he play them well? No. But for the money that we gave him, sure, fine. Trevor Penning, I like that we kept him. He did well for us for the little time that we had of him, and so I'm happy that we kept him. Obviously, getting Khalil Mack back, awesome. Tier Tart was a nice little disruptor for us. But in terms of the offensive moves, I look at them and I'm like, these are all players that fit with Mike McDaniel. Like, even before Alec Ingold signed with our team, I'm like, yeah, we're signing Alec Ingold. No more of this Scott Matlock as our fullback. We need a real fullback. And Alec Ingold, he's one of the better fullbacks in the NFL. He's one of the best fullbacks in the NFL. Duke can block. And then speaking of blocking, Charlie Kolar, yeah, he can catch passes, but that's not what he's here for. He's here because he is one of the best run blocking tight ends in the NFL.
People were talking about like Denver signing Kate Otten. I was like, if you were going to sign a tight end, I wanted it to be Kolar, not Troutman. Like, I get the idea of bringing back Troutman, but like, if you look at the cost of Troutman versus the cost of Kolar, I'd rather have Kolar.
Yeah, because Kolar, this dude can fucking block, and this is where people get confused of Mike McDaniel's scheme. They look at the deep passes and they say, oh, it's a passing scheme. No, Mike McDaniel is a zone run type of first scheme. He wants it where like people can block. He got players that fit his scheme. Cole Strange, yeah, he's not the greatest signing, but he is someone that, hey, for the cost that you're paying him, he's a 1-year rental at best. Like, he's just like one of those guys that you look at and you say, 1-year rental at best. We have Cole Strange. He knows McDaniel's scheme. Worst case scenario, he gets put as a backup, and we cut him next year. It's not the worst signing in the world. He's not one of the best players, but he is someone that is familiar with what Mike McDaniel runs. The Tyler Biadasz signing was pretty much them saying, yeah, we're out of the Linderbaum sweepstakes. Like, we don't want to give Linderbaum all this money. We would rather, go with a effective player at the center position. Tyler Biadasz is going to be way better than freaking Bradley Bozeman. Like that. That's 100% a fact right there. So what they did here, the Chargers, I really felt they added a lot of good blocking to this team, and especially with Kolar and Ingold. Oh my God, this is just great. Like I love that we got Charlie Kohler. Like he was one guy that I was like not expecting the Chargers to ever target just because I'm like, I don't know what his value is going to be. Like maybe we won't, but he fits with what they want to do with run blocking. And if you needed to catch a pass, we know this guy can catch a pass. Like I know everyone's looking at Isaiah Likely and they're like, oh, he was the tight end they should have gone after. No, we already have our pass catcher. We need someone that will play dirty in the trenches. And especially with what Mike McDaniel likes to do and what Jim Harbaugh likes to do, he likes to sometimes have his tight ends be pass blockers for whatever reason. Like that's just what they like to do.
Yeah.
And so having Charlie Kohler, who is good at blocking, be like an extra lineman, I like it. So I honestly like what they did. And adding Keaton Mitchell as a backup running back, just perfect. He's a good third down running back. That's one thing Hampton still needs to work on. But it's what Mike McDaniel likes. He likes to have a big bruiser and then also
faster guy, yeah.
A really faster guy. Keaton Mitchell has that juice. Like he has that zoop ability. So I like it. I honestly like what the Chargers did so far in free agency, and there's just waiting till Friday. For all we know, if we add a Wyatt Teller and that's the last signing we get before heading to the draft, I'm happy. Like I'm not upset. Like a lot of Chargers fans, they're just upset. They're like, "Where's a receiver?" If we could add a Jawan Jennings and a Wyatt Teller from this, happy. I'm very happy. Jawan Jennings is a guy who I would definitely like on the Chargers. One, he's played in McDaniel's scheme. Two, I think he's been a very underrated wide receiver for quite some time in the NFL. I'm not saying he's our wide receiver 1 or wide receiver like 2, but shit, he could be. He's a talented player. So I get it. It's kind of hard with the Niners and what they have on that team. So you kind of just say, how good is he? But still, like he's familiar with the scheme. But yeah, honestly, very good stuff from the Chargers, in my opinion. Not the winners in free agency. They didn't get the flashiest names, but I felt they got guys, especially Ingold and Kolar. I think they're going to be difference makers, even if they don't show it in the stat sheet. Like you're going to be look at that block by Alec Ingold, like running open for Hampton. Look at Charlie Kolar, just like manhandle an edge rusher. Like Kolar's good. Like he played well stepping up for the often injured Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. It's not, like I said, like if you look at his stats, they're not impressive, but he is fine. There was times people were watching Ravens games, they're like, who the fuck is Charlie Kolar and stuff. He played well last year.
Well, let's stay in Los Angeles. We'll just go to another part of SoFi Stadium. The Rams. And really, this is what I was alluding to before. You have the Rams trade the Chiefs for Trent McDuffie, which we covered last week. But then in free agency, they bring over Jalen Watson, also of the Chiefs. And so they are bringing in basically the Chiefs secondary. And they bring in Watson here on a 3-year, $51 million deal. This is a lot of money to be giving between McDuffie and Watson. But if it all pans out, it all pans out. Despite the fact that we covered the McDuffie trade last week, how do you feel about this sort of recreation of the Chiefs secondary?
Yeah, no, the Rams, I didn't really think secondary is that huge of a need for them, but obviously they did. And they got 2 players that will start for them, will play well for them, will make plays for them, and pay them McDuffie obviously got the bigger contract, but Jalen Watson's contract's not horrible. It's not like a horrible contract. Like he wasn't anything too spectacular for the Chiefs, but no, I think they did well, and they kept Cam Curl, which is a really good morale for the locker room. So yeah, overall, I like what the Rams did, to be honest.
Yeah, can't pay too much of it. Like they didn't need that much because of how close they already were. Excuse me, and some of those contracts that they already had. There was not as much space for you to do, but they did what they could. So let's turn from them to the AFC East, the Miami Dolphins. This is a big one. Okay, so you bring in Halfley. You have you're changing of the guard when it comes to this. When it comes to the Miami Dolphins, Mike McDonald's no longer there. Halfley's there. I'm trying to look up who is been stated because I don't remember off the top of my head. Bobby Slowick is the offensive coordinator. All right. Okay. This is going to be interesting considering they've got Waddle in them. But the question is who's going to be throwing them the ball because you've now released Tua Tagovailoa. They bring in Malik Willis, who has been the backup in Green Bay. There's that Halfley connection there. And Yeah, if you were the Titans, you had Malik Willis, you lost Malik Willis to the Packers, and now you're seeing Malik Willis be the starter, or get starter, roughly starter level money for the playing for the Dolphins. And if you're the Dolphins, you're like, this is a very cheap contract. It's 3 years, 45 mil guaranteed, but we can get out of this pretty quickly if we need to. And or if the next guy, like the heir apparent, really does show up in the 27 draft, depending on what happens with Willis, whether he plays well or not, we can potentially have the guy that we're looking for. So, okay, cool. This is going to be a very like this season. I want to see what happens with the Dolphins. They are it's a feisty team from the perspective of the unknown. How do you feel about the Dolphins, particularly this Malik Willis signing?
Yeah, obviously Jeff Hapley, Packers DC, he knows what Malik Willis brings to the table. He had to, practice against him, and he saw Malik Willis step in numerous times for Jordan Love last year and this year to show like, oh yeah, this guy's capable. He can be a capable starting quarterback, and that's all you're hoping for. And your hope is that Malik Willis is the guy, so that way you can kind of, build this roster as you deal with the Tua dead cap. You don't have to worry about having to cut Malik Willis. Like, you have him for 3 years. The worst thing is that you have to extend him, but you're hoping he just plays well enough where it's like, hey, let's give you a Sam Darnold contract, buddy. Like, let's just keep building on these cheap quarterback contracts, like cheap for quarterback standards. Like, let's just be real. Most quarterbacks sign for 10 times more than what Malik Willis is signing. Like, look at Daniel Jones, for example. So you're hoping it just stays like this, that Malik Willis stays in this range, stays in this price range, and you can keep building the roster slowly but surely to hopefully be competitive, and especially when that dead cap money is gone. So I like it. And then the worst case scenario is someone else steps up. Quinn Ewers may step up. Who knows? Maybe you draft someone. Who knows? But yeah, it's fine. It's not harmful. It makes some fun. It makes some fun for a fun Madden rebuild. Like, you can just be like, okay, you choose Malik Willis as my guy, and then you try to make Malik Willis into it. So,
well, let's turn from the Dolphins to a team that we don't know if the starting quarterback's on the roster yet, because we don't know exactly what's going on yet with Kyler Murray. But the Minnesota Vikings did absolutely nothing in free agency outside of signing one person, James Pierre, 2 years, $8.5 million. But when it comes to retaining people, they did a lot of different things, a lot of small things. They're keeping Aaron Jones on a 1-year deal, kind of just re-signing a bunch of players that sort of just needed to be re-signed. Like, nothing, anybody that's stands out that crazy. The Eric Wilson is going to probably be the most talked about, if anything, because it's the largest contract. But really, this is a team that we're waiting to find out whether or not Kyler Murray is going to end up on their roster. Because if he does, then this team really does change their, I don't want to say their trajectory, but they change what they look like for this season, because it would more than likely be a 1-year deal. Because the rumor, the reporting is that not only is he talking to the Vikings for 2026, but he's already talking to teams that he anticipates would need quarterbacks in 2027. Which, first off, kudos to you, sir, for trying to figure out how to play the game. I appreciate that. Like, that is a level of foresight that is good on you. I don't know if that necessarily hurts you or helps you when it comes to this year, though, with the Vikings. Because, like, if you're one of those teams that is going to be looking at you in 2027, and the Vikings are like, but what if he's good? Like, wouldn't we want to re-sign him? But he's at least keeping his options open. But then the Vikings are like, does he already have one foot out the door, even though he hasn't in the building yet? That remains to be seen. But obviously, like, this is kind of like the looming specter of where Kyler Murray goes. So, like, how do you do? What were the Vikings really going to be able to do? I'm not 100% certain, but this is also a team that defense is really expensive. They were really hoping that JJ McCarthy was going to be the guy.
They fired their GM too, so it's like they're like, oh yeah, we're not going to announce the GM till after the draft. So it's like, so Kevin O'Connell is kind of like the GM at this point. I think Kevin O'Connell looked at his roster and he's like, yeah, I'm cool with it. I just need to figure out what my quarterback is, and then like. This is similar to like the Brady sweepstakes, where teams were like not going after like certain players that they should have gone after, because they were like, we have this money saved for Brady, So we got to wait and see where Tom Brady goes. And then when Brady decided Tampa Bay, you notice all those, like the Chargers were one of those teams. They were like looking at Tom Brady, and then they had the money set aside. And then all of a sudden, like Tom Brady announced he was going to Tampa. And then the Chargers just decided to sign a bunch of like players. Yeah, they're like yeah, we had these players on the back burner. That's kind of similar to the Vikings because they're just like waiting and seeing, like, okay, like because they obviously would like Kyler Murray for their team. Like they're obviously like JJ McCarthy is like, it's one of those guys where it's like they want, maybe competition, maybe that helps JJ McCarthy, but also too, it's like, hey, if we get a Kyler Murray and it's a guy that, our receivers like, Justin Jefferson throws with him. So, Jefferson probably is all like, hey, I would like this guy on the roster, blah, 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 and stuff. So yeah, they're just kind of waiting and seeing. So we'll see where the Vikings land ultimately in the end. So
yep. Let's turn to the defending AFC champions, the New England Patriots. Now, the first things first, they released Stephon Diggs. And we already knew that they needed wide receiver help anyway, but they compounded the problem by releasing Stephon Diggs. Now, there's obviously an argument that Diggs, with the criminal issues before him, may not be playing in 2026. That remains to be seen. But at least you sort of knew you had him on the roster. They pivot to signing Romeo Doubs from the Green Bay Packers, and this is a large contract for a wide receiver that I think his best year ever was 800 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to spend the money, I suppose. Like it's doing nothing, just sitting in the bank when it comes to the NFL. So I suppose it makes sense, especially because you can always kind of restructure things down the road. But at least on paper for right now, I don't know how I feel about that Romeo Doubs signing. Like, will he be somebody like a Stephon Diggs for this team? We'll see. But part of also what they needed to do was continue to work on this defense, but also, maybe more importantly, work on the offensive line. Because Will Campbell swore up and down he was going to die to defend Drake May. And he played well until like the back half of the season. And then he got hurt, and then he came back and he wasn't himself. But like, he still needs time to develop, and a way to try to help that, to him develop, and a way to try to build chemistry on this offensive line. You bring in Elijah Vera Tucker, 3 years, $42 million. I like that for the offensive line itself. They look like they're building something there. The issue to me is going to be how they continue to work between Ramondre Stevenson and TreVeyon Henderson. It was very frustrating for people, at least people who were playing fantasy football or people who were trying to bet on TreVeyon Henderson, because Ramondre kept taking a large bulk of the carries. Now, if that changes over time, maybe TreVeyon Henderson showed enough. He showed enough of that dynamic running ability that Vrabel was able to trust him more. We're willing to trust him more. We'll see. But in order to do that, you need a better offensive line. So Vera Tucker is good there. And you also need a good defensive line, because that helps relieve some of the pressure off of your offense. Drake May doesn't have to do ridiculous things and run the ball himself and all that kind of stuff if you're able to get better stops. And they can do that potentially with a Draymond Jones, and potentially with a Kevin Byard, potentially with a lot of these players that they're trying to bring in to help this defense. How do you feel about the Patriots free agency class?
Yeah, they're just signing guys that they can get. They have a rookie quarterback on the rookie quarterback contract, so they can splurge if they want to. Do I think they splurge correctly? We'll have to wait and see. Sometimes these players turn out well. Sometimes these players end up flaming out. So this is just more of a wait and see on a Romeo Doubs. Can Vera Tucker, keep being healthy as a lineman in the NFL? Can Draymond Jones break through? It's just more of a wait and see for these signings. They have the money. They can do this stuff with the quarterback. Keep building. But yeah, and then keep in mind too, they're still in the market for maybe trading for like an AJ Brown. So it's not like the end of the world for the Patriots. They can still make some more moves to help out in the receiver room for him. So yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, where they go with that, because like you could argue that the 31st overall pick has more value to you as a trade piece than who the player you'd get would be. And especially recently, we have seen a lot of back end of the first round trades. Like we saw the Rams and the Falcons trade. We saw the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Panthers make their trades a couple of years ago. So we saw like movement in there. So arguably that draft selection is more valuable to you from the ability to get a veteran player than to get somebody new and have to worry about first round draft pick money versus somebody who may be on a relatively cheaper deal for maybe 2 years, and then you kind of figure out where you're going to go from there. So let's turn to Davion joining us in the chat, saying I think Elijah Vera Tucker is good when healthy. Yeah, he is. Like we were saying, he's going to provide like a lot of help to that offensive line that was getting bullied in the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
They really were getting bullied. But let's turn to a team that hopefully wants to bully teams in the NFC South when it comes to running the ball and controlling the clock and building around Tyler Shuck. It's none other than the New Orleans Saints. The big piece here is the Travis Etienne signing, 4 years, $52 million. And then David Edwards, 4 years, $61 million, building out the trenches, building out the running room. Alvin Kamara, it seems, is not long for this team. Interestingly, Kamara said, if a team tries to trade for me, don't. I'll just retire. I want to stay in New Orleans. New Orleans may not want you to stay, but they want to be able to move on, or at least have the ability to move on. And they get that with Travis Etienne, who has been a solid runner for Jacksonville. There was the year where, God, who was it? Was it Peterson or was it? Yeah, I think no. Who was the wasn't it Ohio State? Urban Meyer.
Yeah. We're starting Carlos Hyde over.
Yeah.
And then freaking Trevor Lawrence is like, why is he on the field? That's the funniest story ever. Like Trevor Lawrence is just like,
why is he on the field?
Yeah, why is this guy always on the field? Like he's like confused that Carlos Hyde is.
But Travis Etienne earned his payday, did his time in Jacksonville, and now he goes from a nice climate place to a nice climate place. Like, good for you, sir.
Close to home too. That's what he wanted.
I don't know if Etienne. I don't know if Louisiana has a state income tax. I know Florida doesn't, but if it does, it wouldn't surprise me if it was relatively low. Either way, he is going to be able to be working with Tyler Shuck and working with Kellen Moore to try to get the Saints back to where they need to be. They also bring in Caden Ellis. It seems as I think they released Cam Jordan. So they're finally getting some of those really ridiculously expensive contracts off the books that they've had to continue to just renegotiate, restructure, and so on and so forth. And maybe they're getting closer to being a more normal cap situation. A lot of this is going to depend on Tyler Shuck taking that next step forward, and realistically on Chris Olave staying healthy, because you can't have a concussion riddled receiver. Like, who is Tyler Shuck going to be throwing to? They don't have that many options besides him. Devon Bailey did kind of step forward, and thank you, New Orleans, for the 4th round pick. I'm sure Denver will use that to draft somebody that will not help us or help the team. How do you feel about the New Orleans Saints and their free agency moves?
Yeah, I like them a lot because they already got, like, the Saints have this luxury of, like, they drafted well with the 2 tackles. They got Falaga from Oregon State 2 years ago. He's like their right tackle. And then they got Kelvin Banks, who's their left tackle. So they got already 2 bookend tackles on cheap contracts. Now it's just to build out the interior. They have a really good center in Eric McCoy. So center, check. You don't need another center. Now the guard situation, that's where it was kind of like in a rough spot. Like Cesar Perez, he was kind of hit or miss as a offensive guard. But then you get a guy in David Edwards who is proven, doesn't miss games, just a nasty ass run blocker. Perfect. What do you pair up with him? A guy in Travis Etienne. And you still have a running back that you like that was doing well before he got injured in Devin Neal. So that's kind of like your 1-2 punch. And if Kamara, if you guys do decide to keep him on the roster, I don't know why you would, but if you do decide to keep him on the roster, hey, you got a nice little legacy player in there just to, run a little bit every so often. Most likely Kamara will get released. I don't think he wants to play, but they also still have flexibility to make some trades. Obviously they have Demario Davis. Did they trade him or they released him? I know he's like a player that teams are very interested in. He's a very good linebacker despite his age and stuff. So You know, like he has a lot of respect in the NFL and stuff.
He is. Ooh, he signed with the Jets.
Okay, so yeah, that's a good pickup for the Jets. Need good locker room leadership. So yeah, never mind on that point.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so yeah, when it comes down to it, I really like what the Jaguars, not Jaguars, the Saints did. Like, I really do. I think they filled up some holes, and I think they added speed, which Kellen Moore likes, and they're just improving this offense little by little. And you know, Shuck is the truth. They got Tyler Shuck on a cheap ass deal. So
Yeah, I mean,
and
second.
also
It's not even like a cheap rookie contract. Like, oh, it's a first round. No, it's a second round pick. It's even cheaper. Like, yeah,
yeah.
sure, you lose the ability to have that 5th-year option, but like, you still got it even cheaper for the 4 years that you do have.
And especially if you get into early negotiations with Shuck, and let's just say Shuck doesn't put up crazy numbers, then you know Kellen Moore can work some magic and talk to his agent and be like, hey, he's worth this much, and you can only have to re-sign Shuck for like 25 million per year. That's a win for quarterbacks. Are you kidding me? Like, that's like the ultimate cheat code, just having a quarterback on a cheap deal and stuff. So yeah, no, I really like what the Saints did. I don't know where to get this money from. They still find ways to just get money for no reason. I thought they had a negative 106 million in cap, and all of a sudden they get money out of nowhere. You can pull up whatever your spot rack or whatever it is, John. And I still won't believe how they got this money. You can tell me how they got it. I still don't believe it. I thought they were the most cap ridden team, and yet they can still give money. David Edwards was not a cheap contract. And
no, 4 years, 61.
He's a great player. He deserves that money. He's a great player. He was the second best offensive lineman behind Linderbaum in this free agency class. And it's like, wait a minute, like how do we get, like, I got confused reading it. I said, where do they get this money? Like they just print money. There's some money laundering going on here.
It's some wacky things happening down in the bayou, but let's.
Is a good pickup too.
Yes,
he played for the Rivals, and he's also fast, and he's youngish and stuff. But yeah, good pickup too. They don't want to leave him out. Noah Fant. Yeah, this is a great Madden team. I mean, Noah Fant.
Noah Fant.
Dude, he still has like 87 speed every Madden. Like, Jesus.
Come on, what are we doing here?
This guy still doesn't get still fast in Madden, John. All that matters is that speed rating.
All that matters is the speed rating. But let's turn from one tight end signing to another, because we're going to go to the now John Harbaugh-led New York Giants that have none other than Matt motherflippin' Nagy as the offensive coordinator. And who do they get? Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. First off, all these retains. All these retains. And then what do? Isaiah Likely, 3 years, $40 million. He is now the guy. Even with Theo Johnson there, he's probably going to be the guy. And when it comes to the tight end room, you are now giving somebody like an Isaiah Likely to a Jackson Dart, who really needs more people that he can throw to. They lose Wan'Dale Robinson, but they get Likely. They're going to have Cam Scatterbo hopefully back for however long Cam Scatterbo's skull works to protect his brain and soft tissue inside of the brain and all that. But this is an offense that really needed help. They get it with Likely. They also need a defensive help. They get Greg Newsome on a 1-year deal. They get Tremaine Edmonds, who had like flashes here and there with Chicago. Like, he had good moments and good games, and maybe he strung a couple along, but it was hard for him to string enough along where it was like stringing along enough for a season, and it was hard enough for him to do like what was needed to be done. I want to know, like, if the Giants are going to really, because a lot of the talk was whether they would trade Kayvon Thibodeau, and they didn't. And so this D-line, like, if you could get this D-line to be right, and you're forcing quarterbacks to throw faster than they want to, anticipation, that helps Tremaine Edmonds. That helps him be the linebacker that you want him to be. So a lot of this, I think, really works, whether if this defensive line with Abdul Carter, with Kayvon Thibodeau really do work for what they want to do. How do you feel about the Baltimore Giants or the New York Ravens?
Yeah, the New York Ravens, solid signings. I mean, they have a quarterback on a rookie contract, new head coach in John Harbaugh. Look, the new head coach feeling, it's like a new car. It smells good for a little bit, but for a guy like John Harbaugh, like, look, if you're going to pay for the John Harbaugh premium, you want the John Harbaugh results. It's like It's like when you go car shopping, like, like there's cars where it's just like, I just need point A to point B. But John Harbaugh is not a normal car. He's a Corvette. You want that Corvette to perform at its best value. You're not paying all this money for a Corvette just to go down the street to drop off your kids. No, you want your Corvette to be zooming and be like the flashy show car. So the Giants, they just didn't have a lot of talent on their offense and on their defense. So they have to make these moves where they pay guys a lot of money to bring in talent so that way they can win football games. You did not sign John Harbaugh for this, let's just build along and stuff. No, you brought John Harbaugh to win football games. Now, I'm not saying win Super Bowls, win football games, make people happy, give hope to the Giants franchise, prove that John Harbaugh is still a good coach. So that's what they did with these moves. They signed guys that are familiar with John Harbaugh and what John Harbaugh wants to run. They signed guys that hopefully can make a difference. They still have players that they can trade to make a difference. This is fine. This is what they had to do so that way they can hopefully get more W's in the win column instead of L's.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not, I don't think they're going to be able to turn things around immediately, but like this is a very good step in the right direction. It's whether or not all of this works out the way they need it to. And like, because right now with the 5th overall, they're taking Sonny Styles. So Sonny Styles and Tremaine Edmonds, that's a lot better than not having Sonny Styles, basically. Tremaine Edmonds, we'll see what happens there. But let's turn to the New York Jets. Ooh. A couple big pieces of news here, right? So obviously we have the Breece Hall franchise tag, which we've discussed previously. But if you know you're going to franchise tag Breece Hall, what do you do elsewhere? And so the question was, let's look at this defense. They bring in Joseph Asai. They bring in Demario Davis. They bring in David Onyemata, Kingsley Egbert. These are a lot. Nashawn Wright is an interesting one for a 1 year, $3.5 million deal. Very cheap for Nashawn Wright. This is a sort of revamped defense, considering the number of people that they lost between the trades, the trades with the Colts, the trades with the Cowboys. They needed to pick up pieces, and it looks as though they've done that. But the real question was, who's going to be throwing the ball for the New York Jets? And you know what they say, Chase? Time heals all wounds.
Yeah.
But the real question is, are the Jets hoping that Geno Smith does for them what Geno Smith did for the Las Vegas Raiders?
100%. Geno Smith is just here to just great tank court. Like, it's the perfect tank where it's like you look like you want to be competitive, but you're really not competitive in this situation. I mean, the players they brought in, very solid players. Dylan Parham is a good player. Joseph Asai is solid. Demario Davis will do his thing. Nashawn Wright hopefully will do something none of their other cornerbacks could do last year, and that's catch a fucking interception because
that was the one.
Yeah, he had 5 more than the Jets had all season.
5 more than the Jets.
Yeah, they had 0. So they're like, hey, this guy, he knows how to intercept the ball. We need at least one of these things. But yeah, no, Minkah Fitzpatrick also knows how to catch interceptions, so that's also a good pickup for them, and he's still a good safety in the NFL. But yeah, Geno Smith, it's like it's going to be typical Geno. He'll flash for the first 3 games, and we're like, oh yeah, Geno's not that bad, and then he'll stink. And that's what the Jets are hoping for, where it's like they need something. But maybe Aaron Glenn's like, no, this is my Jared Goff. I'm going to fix him. I know, like this is like a horrible relation. This is like the one girl you started dating when your freshman year in college, and you guys were both young and stupid. You were underage drinking. It was really like a toxic relationship. Like you guys just weren't healthy for each other, and you guys matured, and you guys are now adults, and you guys both work 9 to 5s, or you have some sort of career intact, like and stuff. And then you just think, oh, we were both freshmen. She's still hot. Yeah, let's go back. Let's do this again. Then you realize, no, the relationship didn't work because we're both just not compatible with each other. That's what this Geno Smith situation is. It's like, it's not a compatible relationship. You just want Geno Smith to suck for you. Just throw interceptions, fuck up.
It feels
get us
weird.
That first round pick.
It feels so weird to me because, like, I remember, and I think I said this on when we were doing the different version of the football show on True Heel Heat Sports Entertainment. I remember talking about the Russell Wilson trade from Seattle to Denver And part of what I was saying was, who is going to lead this team? Are they trusting Geno Smith? And this was, the whole, they wrote me off. I didn't write back, all that kind of shit. And I'm like, yeah, but as soon as he left, that's when the job got done. So it's like, I was right. In the end, I was right when it came to Geno Smith being the quarterback, the starting quarterback for the Seahawks. Then he goes to the Raiders, and now they have the first overall pick. So it's like, what do you? I mean, maybe they're gonna hope that it works out for them. Everybody won so far in whether it was the Seahawks, they ended up getting a Super Bowl. It just took Geno leaving. And the Raiders got the number 1 overall pick. It just took Geno leaving. So hey, maybe Geno is that magic.
Yeah, it's also
Jack
too
Beanstalk bean.
Because the Jets just didn't have any other options at quarterback to at least make it where they can try to win football games. Because you're not going to throw out Cook again. That guy sucked and stuff. And then Kyler Murray probably was like, no thanks. I don't want to go to New York. They're going to be mean to me. They're going to be mad that I want to play Call of Duty on double. Yeah, they lost out on Malik Willis, so it's kind of like the one fun unknown option where it's like, oh, cool, they signed Malik Willis. Tua, they couldn't get Tua, and Tua's probably like, I'm not playing in the cold. Sorry, it's indoor stadium or nice temperature, please. And so it was like, what else did they have? And they said, hey, fuck it. Got to go with Geno Smith. Got to go back to the girl that I dated freshman year in college. Maybe it'll turn out better this time. Maybe she has changed. Maybe I've changed. Maybe we were both the problem.
Well, let's turn to the Philadelphia Eagles, who are such a weird influx team because they are they're not bad, but then weirdly they're not good at the same time. Mm-hmm. And maybe it really was the offensive coordinator issues, but maybe it's also the Sirianni thing. What is he really actually contributing to the team? We don't know. But what they did do this year, it was they lost Dallas Goedert in free agency, so they make sure they re-signed Cal Cetera, who played pretty well for them as the Goddard fill-in when he was injured, and they bring in Johnny Munt from the Vikings. But the real interesting signing is Riq Woolen from Seattle, 1 year, up to $15 million. On paper, this is a big coup for the Eagles. But I'm sure that Davion can confirm for us as a Seattle fan that Riq Woolen had a lot of hit and miss plays, a lot of hit and miss games where he would be there, but then he would show up and then he just would also not show up. And there were times where he would disappear in that defense. And there's a reason. Not obviously Seattle has to make decisions about who they're going to keep and who they're not going to keep because and all these players are going to want bump ups because they just won a Super Bowl. But at the same time, you can see who they're choosing to retain and who they're choosing not to retain. And I remember many years ago when Jacksonville had the two Allens, and they let Robinson go, and he went to Chicago. And people were like, "Oh, this is going to be great." I was like, "Well, why wouldn't Jacksonville have just re-signed him if he was this great? He's 1,000-yard receiver. Okay, cool, but why wouldn't they? If you're Jacksonville, why wouldn't you want a 1,000-yard receiver? Now you have to find a new 1,000-yard receiver. There's got to be something there, and it didn't pan out. And so sometimes I'm in favor of bringing people in through free agency. I'm much more a proponent of building through the draft, but I want to know which Riq Woolen Philadelphia is going to get. How do you feel about this?
I think this signing is pretty good for the Eagles' perspective because they do have one of the better secondaries in the NFL. Riq Woolen, he's fast and he's tall, which is very nice. Very nice. Mm-hmm. And if you can work out some other kinks, it'll be good. I think it also helps Quinyon Mitchell. They were trying to make Quinyon Mitchell the guy that would play all over the field. And it's clear that Quinyon Mitchell likes playing on one side of the field. And so now with the Riq Woolen, although inconsistent, they can have it where Riq Woolen will make it where Quinyon Mitchell can play on that one side of the field and his brain's not being scattered of oh, what am I doing on this side? What am I doing on this side? Depending on whatever the coverage is called when it's not a man coverage. Cooper DeJean, we know this guy, he kind of plays everywhere. He's sometimes a linebacker, sometimes a slot corner, sometimes an outside corner, sometimes a safety for them. So we know with Cooper DeJean, he's their chess piece. They just needed the 2 outside corners. They already have a good one in Quinyon Mitchell. They needed someone else that can kind of pair up well with Quinyon Mitchell. And what are both Rick Willen and Quinyon Mitchell? Tall and fast. Very similar players. Will Rick Willen make mistakes? 100% he'll make mistakes. But at the end of the day, Rick Willen is really, really fast. More interesting is like the Eagles. They're more on the interesting path of who are they going to trade, or if they're going to trade. Are they going to trade AJ Brown? Are they going to say, you know what? Because they gave Jordan Davis a big contract. They don't show what he got paid, but he got paid a big contract.
Mm-hmm.
Are they done with Jalen Carter? Are they just like, you know what? This guy's antics are way too much. Like he's one of the best defensive players in the NFL, but fuck, we don't want to pay this guy all this money. Like, let's see if we can get something for him. And Jalen Carter, there's going to be teams that are going to be like, we're listening. We can deal with this speeding. Who cares? Come to our team. So, yeah, Jalen Carter and also AJ Brown. That's more interesting for the Eagles than who they bring in. It's just more like, what are they going to get for those 2 players? And there's teams like Chargers, like New England, like maybe the Texans that could probably go for like an AJ Brown, trade for him and say, hey, we get some, like AJ Brown pairs up well with Nico Collins. That way you have a nice 1-2 punch. Hey, the Chargers, they want a true number 1 wide receiver for Justin Herbert. Hey, AJ Brown is a true number 1 wide receiver, whether you like him or not. The Patriots, they're like, Ron Vrabel loves AJ Brown. Didn't want to fucking trade him. Was like, no, let's not do this. And then the Titans were like, no, we are doing this. And then he was like, fuck. So, yeah.
I will say, as of like an hour ago, Sports Illustrated is still reporting that there's still conversations going on between Philly and New England when it comes to AJ Brown and reuniting him with Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, they would be the team that would possibly overpay draft capital to get him, because they're just looking at it's like, hey, we just made the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Our window's wide open.
Mm-hmm.
We need a guy like AJ Brown who is just like a guarantee. Like Romeo Dobbs is our deep threat guy, but then we need like that guaranteed wide receiver 1. It's AJ Brown. And AJ Brown's gonna be like, oh, thank God, a quarterback that will actually throw me the football. This is great. I still wish the Raiders would sign for him, just because Mendoza and AJ Brown sounds like the greatest combination of all time. Like Mendoza just trying to be positive, and AJ Brown's yelling at him, just getting pissed. Like throw me the damn ball, Mendoza. AJ, everyone needs to get their opportunities. Your opportunities are going to come, and when they come, I know you're going to make that catch that will change the game, get us a touchdown. Shut the fuck up, man, and give me the damn ball. Like, it'd be great.
We'll stay in Pennsylvania, and we'll travel from Philadelphia over to Pittsburgh. So the big one here is the trade with the Colts for Michael Pittman Jr., and then it's the signing of Rico Dowdle. So they lose Kenneth Gainwell to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They still have Jalen Warren. They bring in Rico Dowdle, and I guess technically speaking, they still have Caleb Johnson, their rookie now second-year running back on the team. But Rico Dowdle leaving Carolina helps free up the issue of who's RB1 between him and Chuba Hubbard, and maybe Jonathan Brooks. Remember when Jonathan Brooks was drafted? Oh God, maybe he will be able to return and be someone. But for the Steelers, now you have a little bit more opportunity here in your running back room.
Breaking news!
Oh boy.
Former Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray is signing a 1-year deal with the Vikings, per sources.
There it is.
Now become part of the QB room. With Murray already owed $36.8 million from the Arizona, his 1-year contract with the league will be a veteran league minimum.
There it is. Yeah. Now I anticipate the Vikings going on a little bit of bargain shopping for who they think they might need, who Kevin McConnell thinks he's gonna need.
You think you're slick, Kevin? Huh? Getting KOC, getting Kyler Murray? Fuck you. We're still gonna win, man. NFC's ours.
All right, Sean. It's we talked about your Rams already, Sean.
Yeah, but you guys didn't talk about enough about how we're just gonna win the NFC. It's ridiculous.
They already gloss over my signings too. I sacrifice money. Me and Brittany have to eat McDonald's every day.
They didn't sacrifice shit, Pat. You did not sacrifice shit.
What are you talking about, man? Whatever. Go talk about your damn Steelers, man.
So Michael Pittman, the trade with the Colts, The trade is weird to me because I'm like, I have to imagine Michael Pittman's worth more than a 6th-round pick. Like they sent Michael Pittman in a 7th and got back a 6th.
Yeah.
I'm like, kudos to the Pittsburgh Steelers GM for this. Like Pittman's not like a superstar wide receiver. He's solid though. He is one of the more solid wide receivers in the
Reliable.
league.
He's really reliable.
So listen, kudos to
we just have to be
someone on the cheap.
concerned if he becomes crazy because the Steelers water the wide receivers become psychopaths. Like will this awaken a different Michael Pittman?
That is true.
Than we're used to. We're so nice to this like very fun-loving, good old California boy Michael Pittman. But then now, do you think he like DK Metcalf? He's like, hey man, don't drink the water. Turns you different over here. You start punching bands and shit. Start talking about CTE.
Yeah,
it's
man. Like, pairing Michael Pittman with
physical
DK Metcalf.
Just physicality, wide receiver. Your corners better be ready to be battling.
With Rico Dowdle, like punching through, with Darnell Washington, like wow. It's the Steelers are gonna be an interesting team.
Very Mike McCarthy team.
Here's the question: who's gonna be the fucking quarterback?
Hey man. You ready for more breaking news?
They have talked about like how they feel confident in Will Howard. I don't know how confident they feel in Will Howard.
But well, John, breaking. No, I don't have anything there.
I was gonna say if it's Rodgers, the confirmation of Rodgers returning. Like, there's so many options here, right? Like, it could be Rodgers, it could be Will Howard, it could be Ty Simpson. Like, there's a lot of different options here about how the Steelers want to go forward. But how do you feel about this free agency or this sort of pre-draft offseason, we'll call it, for the Steelers? But like, talk to me about it from the lens of who the quarterback's going to be, who's going to be the signal caller for Pittsburgh in the 26th season.
Their quarterback's going to be happy. They have two big physical wide receivers in Pittman and DK Metcalf. Metcalf is not a polished wide receiver. He's just big and physical. Like, he's just really just a big physical freak. Pittman's a polished wide receiver and he can catch. Like, Pittman's a very good, reliable pass catcher. I've felt Pittman has been like he's been laboring some weird injury because like I remember I would be like, man, he doesn't look right. Like, there's something off with Michael Pittman Jr. and stuff. So hopefully the Steelers get a good version of Michael Pittman Jr. and he plays well and stuff. And Rico Dowdle, like, he just keeps signing these cheap deals when he's probably worth a lot more money than what he's signing. I mean, he kicked ass with the Cowboys. He played tremendous with the Panthers. And it's like, if you're the Panthers, you're like, yeah, let's just keep this guy. Like screw Jonathan Brooks. This guy can't even see the field. Like, screw him. Like, Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard, what a 1-2 punch. No, like, the Steelers end up getting Dowdle, who can pair up well with Jalen Warren. So you have two of those guys that pair up well with each other. Jalen Warren, more of your little pass catcher and little, not speedster per se, because he's not really particularly fast, but, a guy that can do a little bit of everything. Then you have Dowdle, who's just like a freak of nature and stuff. So, yeah, no, I like what the Steelers did. It's just more of like the quarterback. It's like, yeah, who's your quarterback? Is this like I don't know, Will Howard? Like, really? We're going to trust in this guy? Like, no. I feel like Rodgers is coming back. I think Rodgers is coming back. Like, yeah, Kansas State go too. He helped Alabama out a little bit. Won the Big 12 championship. Beat TCU to win the Big 12 championship, and TCU lost in the national title. But whatever. What's his name? Quinn. Who's my favorite wide receiver on Chargers? The goof. Can't catch.
Quentin Johnson.
Yeah, Quentin Johnson. That goof.
I was about to say, I would think you'd have QJ like tattooed on you.
No, we're gonna trade him for AJ Brown, man. It's okay.
How do you feel? Because I know you've been fairly vocal of this individual in the past. How do you feel about the $4 million that the Steelers decided to give to Asante Samuel Jr.?
I mean, that's okay. Is he back from his neck injury? I don't know. Competitors welcome, and he wasn't a competitor for Jim Harbaugh, so he's not a competitor for me.
It's like $4 million that didn't come from the Chargers, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's not my problem anymore. He's not a competitor like Jim Harbaugh said.
It's fair.
Just like his dad.
Let's turn to the 49ers. And the 49ers have such an interesting free agency offseason situation. Like, they try to figure out what's going to happen with the Trent Williams situation. He's probably not long for the team. But they go, you know what would really help us? A really good wide receiver. And then somebody in the background just yells out, but what about Brandon Ayuk? And they said, a different, better, good wide receiver. And they said, all right, we're going to go to Tampa Bay and get Mike Evans. Mike Evans, who for the first time since, I don't know, the Jimmy Carter administration, did not get 1,000 yards due to injury, leaves Tampa Bay, where he has been this entire time, won a Super Bowl with them, been quietly competent, no matter who was throwing him the ball, which quarterback it was, played with GOATs, played with people who were looked over, right? Like, like the Tom Brady's of the world when Tom first came out. Now he's going to be catching passes from none other than Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, who was looked over by every team multiple times. And this is a great signing for the Niners. And as Davion's saying, he was not expecting Mike Evans to get 3 years. I think like the way they structured this was for the purposes of just like making sure the money is spread out. But like, wow, this is a cool signing for the Niners. Like, you have Mike Evans now, Ricky Pearsall. You don't like when he's there, he's really good. And then he also has times where he just disappears. But Mike Evans, Pearsall, you're going to lose Ayuk, but you have 2 rookies and a second-year guy in Jacob Cowing and Watkins. But most importantly, you have George Kittle and you have Christian McCaffrey. With the addition of Mike Evans and the anticipated release of Ayuk, this is a quietly revamped wide receiver room. And even if you lose Juwan Jennings, this is going to be really interesting. How do you feel about Mike Evans leaving Tampa Bay, coming to the 49ers, and the 49ers for this upcoming season?
I don't know if I'm like a huge fan of it. Like, honestly, like, I felt Tampa kind of dodged a bullet on this one, in my opinion.
That's a strong, like, he has injury concerns now.
Yeah, like, he's a good player. I love Mike Evans, but it's just like, does he fit with what the Niners do? Like, I don't know. Like, I'd much rather have given this money to Juwan Jennings than Mike Evans, unless Juwan Jennings is so far off the numbers that you can't re-sign him. Oh, it's a very, I have to, this is a wait and see. Like, it's just going to be weird seeing Mike Evans in a 49ers uniform. It's not even like, it's just weird. He's just been with Tampa forever and stuff, but I just don't know.
I see. To me, I like it because it allows you to open up what you can do with Kittle and McCaffrey. To me, that's the real value of Evans.
Are we going to even see Kittle next year? I don't know.
Wait, I mean, his injury? Yeah, I mean, he'll be back, but like
that's why they got the GOAT, Jake Tongas. I like that signing. They're just like, hey man, you're good for us. Let's sign a bigger deal elsewhere. Just stay with us.
Yeah, here's $5.5 million.
Go play next to the power plant where it causes injuries.
They're like, here's $5.5 million guaranteed. We know it's really only $3 million because we're in California.
Yeah, but dude, he's lucky. He's in the so John. I don't know if you noticed, Northern and Southern California, there's different taxes. He's in the worst part. He's in Northern California. So he's
wait, hold on. How do they have different taxes for different parts of the state?
So Northern California taxes are higher, you mean
because of local taxes?
Local taxes. Yeah, no, he's in Northern California. He has the local taxes. Like, he's not. He's in the worst part. He's in freaking San Francisco. Like,
well, I appreciate you living in the Los Angeles area, which stabs you for money slightly less than San Francisco.
No, John. I'm technically part of Ventura County, so I'm not in the.
I don't know where that is.
So Ventura is literally just 20 minutes away from Los Angeles. So I am free from the Los Angeles money. So I have a decent and stuff. There's a reason why a lot of the Rams and Chargers players, they'll live in like the Ventura area. Calabasas being like a popular city. It's in Ventura County, not LA County. LA County starts once you get past.
I only know about Calabasas because of the music guys that live there.
Once you get past, why do you think they live in?
Why do they all live there?
Ventura County, not LA County, and stuff. So they don't have to worry about those LA County taxes. But Yeah, no, dude, like Jake Tongas, he's getting 1 million. If anything, dude, Brock Purdy.
Wait a minute. You're saying from $5.5 million guaranteed, he's only going to make $1 million after Cali taxes?
Yeah, and plus the travel he has to do.
The weather is not nice enough to live there. I'm sorry. What are you talking about?
Also the game checks and everything. Like he has to.
Yeah, but the majority, like half of the game checks are being played in California. And then out of the other 8 or 9 game checks, one of them is going to be in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Yeah, so Jake Tongas is only making 1 million, bro. Like, why Brock Purdy? Dude, there's a reason why Brock Purdy, like, he was like still in a condo.
Yeah, Brock Purdy was still
Brock Purdy was like, he was like star quarterback, and this guy's like probably just like eating McDonald's for dinner because he was really struggling.
Well, let's get out of California.
It's a beautiful sunny day. It's 79 degrees, John. Come on.
Yeah, I grew up in South Florida. Okay, I appreciate the sun and all that.
But we have.
Don't talk to me about like it's great weather.
No, we have consistently good weather. We don't have to deal with like random rain and alligators and everything like that. Like,
bro, don't talk to me about random rain and alligators when there's earthquakes and fires all the time.
Dude, we barely get earthquakes. It's so overrated.
Oh, but I was about to say, don't say you barely get fires.
Yeah, no, fires happen. But the thing is the earthquake thing is just really so what's funny is the house I live in, I'm pretty much fucked if like a big earthquake happens. I got it for cheap because it's on the San Andreas fault. Oh my god. What? Why would
you want to live in a house that's on the San Andreas fault?
Well, it was very cheap, John. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, all right, that's fair.
My whole neighborhood, they choose these houses for a reason, right? Hey, sometimes you got to be smart with what you do it and stuff.
Being smart would just not living in California in the first place.
No, living in California is great. We have a bajillion sports teams. We have Disneyland. We have
wait, hold on. Wait. You have a gajillion sports teams, sir. You are a fan of the basketball team in Minnesota.
Yeah, sorry.
You don't even like the Clippers or the Lakers or the Warriors.
I root for the Lakers
or the Kings.
I'm not a huge Lakers fan, but I root for them. Oh. I'm a Sharks fan for hockey.
I'm not even gonna
what
deign to respond to that.
Jumbo Joe, he was Couture. They were great. We have a nice young lineup.
I
watch hockey. For baseball, I can root for the Angels sometimes, and the Dodgers are funny. Yeah, I've been to plenty of Angels games. You know how cheap they are? You just go to Disneyland, and then afterwards
they pay you to go to Angels games.
Yeah, dude. So no joke. So one time, me and my girlfriend, we went to Disneyland, and we went to McDonald's after Disneyland, and there's a McDonald's in Anaheim, and they're like, "Oh well, you guys aren't busy here," and they gave us 2 Angels tickets, and I asked her, I'm like, do you want to go to this game? And she goes,
look at that.
She was like, yeah, sure, why not?
I could not imagine someone handing out free Cubs tickets in a McDonald's.
Yeah, so they gave us that's
I can imagine it for the White Sox, not for the
I have so many free Clipper ticket stories because like Carlos Jr. and all these the Clippers were like, they were just giving out tickets back in the day, bro. Like it was like ridiculous. But yeah, so we went. And our seats were obviously cheap seats, but there was no one in the ballpark. So like by like the second inning, we went down. Yeah, we went from like the highest section to we were like right on the first baseline, very nice seats, very nice view. And she was like, all this from McDonald's too. And I was like, yeah, this is pretty sick. Like we literally just because we were just like because a lot of times with Disneyland, you can either go early or stay later, but we decided to end it early. Like we didn't want to stay much longer. So we left, and then like we're like, "Yo, let's grab McDonald's." And then later on, the cashier was like, "Oh, are you guys local residents?" I'm like, "Nah, we just went to Disneyland." She goes, "Oh, well, if you guys want to catch the Angels game at 7 here," and she just gave us 2 tickets, and we're like, "Oh, okay,
there
cool."
You go.
And then we got 2 tickets. Yeah, no, the Clippers egregious, bro. They would just give out, bro. In high school, we used to sell books, like for the football team for football fundraisers. Inside of the books, not even kidding. Like they had tickets to any Clipper game that you wanted and stuff, and it was just like and you just had to go to the box office at Staples, give them the give them that thing, and then they will hand you just random tickets. And it was like, dude, it's like $20 to buy this book, and you just got free Clipper tickets. Like, the fuck is this?
Well, despite all of those free ticket offers, we are going to get the hell out of California and go a little bit more north to Seattle, where this is no longer accurate because I have not hit refresh while we have been doing this. But the Seattle Seahawks are no longer the one of two teams who have not signed somebody from another team, because they finally signed someone from a different team, Emmanuel Wilson, running back from the Green Bay Packers, to sort of replace Kenneth Walker. So now the running back group is going to be Zach Charbonnet. It's going to be your favorite George Halani and Emmanuel Wilson. But more importantly, they did a lot of retains. And we talked about the people they didn't retain, like other players going to other teams, Kobe Bryant, Reek Woolen, et cetera, et cetera. But the players that they did retain, Rashid Shaheed, a great signing for them. Between him, JSN, and Torrey Horton, they've got a promising young wide receiver core. I don't think this sort of is a bit of a death knell for the Cooper Kupps of the world, but we'll see. They also retain Jake Bobo. They bring back a couple other of the defensive pieces. Look at that! They re-sign your guy George Halani that you were shitting on during one of the playoff games. That was
Humulumu.
I think it's hilarious that you were just like hating on him, and now he has a Super Bowl ring. But how do you feel about?
So what? Oh, cool. I was the third string running back for the Seahawks. Oh, cool. I got a oh my goodness, dude. Could you imagine if I ever played in the NFL and I just happened to be in the Super Bowl team? I'm not gonna parade around being like, I'm a Super Bowl champion, John. Like, you got to listen to what I'm saying.
I would. Like, what are you talking about? If that was me and I was like, I accidentally lucked into a Super Bowl ring, hell yeah.
The Seahawks. I like the Emmanuel Wilson pickup. Like, he played well for the Packers when he was there, so that's a good pickup to kind of replace Kenneth Walker, K9, Kenneth Walker III. But yeah, no, I do like that they kept most of their pieces. They're in that weird situation. They won the Super Bowl. They had a bunch of guys that were coming off the books. Obviously, they weren't going to be able to keep everyone that they weren't going to be able to keep everyone. That's just the bottom line when it comes down to it. It was just not out of the realm of financial possibilities for them to do that. But they kept the guys that they wanted. They didn't make the Shaheed pickup feel like a waste because they ended up signing him. Just hopefully they give him more opportunities besides just like kick returns and stuff. Because sometimes I felt like they weren't giving him the opportunities. But other than that, pretty solid offseason for the reigning and defending Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, I can't really it's not like a cash strap situation, but it's like, why not save the money in case anything?
Yeah, exactly. And especially because like Darnold, if they want to extend them, they need money to extend him. But yeah, no, we're not going to be talking about George Halumumumulu and talking about him being a Super Bowl champ. Like, I was saying, like, you can't have this guy be your backup. Like, this is ridiculous. And they realize
why are you hating on Davion?
And they realize
why are you hating on Davion's favorite RB2? Come on now.
He's now RB4. Like, they signed Emmanuel Wilson, and I'm sure they're going to draft a kid. So Humulumalu, there's $1.75 million. I hope you bank it, buddy, because you're not living in Seattle much longer.
No, the real reason they're not signing that many people is because the 2026 season is the last season of JSN's rookie contract. They're going to have to exercise the 5th-year option, which means they're going to be having to renegotiate with him this year. And so that's why they're not signing anybody. They're saving the money for a guy who is
maybe
superstar
contract.
Yeah. George Halani will be a terrible casualty.
I don't know who you're talking. I know him as George Homolumulu. Boise State legend. No wonder why Ashton Genty had to run the ball so much, because they had Homolumulu as running back 2 or 3.
Well, let's go from Seattle, Washington to Tampa Bay. They lose Mike Evans. They retain Cade Otton. They retain Sean Tucker. They lose Rachaad White, who just signed with the Commanders, and they gain Alec Anzalone. Anzalone is probably the bigger of the two signings here between him and Kenneth Gainwell. But as linebackers go, he was the second highest tackler for the Detroit Lions last year. So for the Lions, like hopefully some of those picks we talk free agency acquisitions we talked about earlier, they're going to help you make up those tackles. And for the Bucks, that's going to help you because that was part of the problem of your defense was that back half section. And so like making sure everybody works well together, like a lot of that comes down to the ability to tackle people inbounds in space. I like the pickup of Alex Anzalone. Wasn't too expensive. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, nice little cheap deals that the Buccaneers signed. Obviously, they have like a bunch of young pieces on their roster, so they're probably more just like, yeah, we'll save the money elsewhere. But yeah, getting a guy like Alex Anzalone who shows leadership on your defense, you can't complain about that. Kenneth Gainwell, good luck, Bucky Irving owners. He's going to vulture a lot of touchdowns. This is what he does. Kenneth Gainwell is a vulture at the end of the day. He just vultures everything away from the starting running back.
Yeah, I remember I posted.
Jake Browning's a weird signing. I just
it's just a backup.
But Baker does get hurt, so
he does pick up some. Yeah.
Baker will pick up the random like, oh, my shoulder hurts, or he woke up not angry enough, so he can't play. So who knows?
Yeah, like I remember, and when we were heading into the playoffs in our dynasty league, it was when I traded Bucky to Scott as part of his final push to try to beat Brandon, which worked out for him. And I remember I shared the trade.
You had George Hulumalu to the trade?
No. But I shared the trade in like some of the dynasty subreddits, and I was getting torn apart for trading away Bucky Irving. And a part of me was like, I get what you're saying, but like one, I acquired Bucky Irving as like a 3rd round pick, and 2, I understand that the Buccaneers are going to bring in more competition for him because he's proving that he can't hold the load all the way by himself, which is why he was brought in to challenge Rachaad White. Like and this is exactly what we see happening. Kenneth Gainwell is a better running back than Rachaad White, and by keeping Sean Tucker on that 1 year tender, between him, Gainwell, they are going to be pushing Bucky Irving for a lot more of those snaps than Irving wants. Irving wants to give up, or if you're at least a fantasy manager, they want to see Irving give up.
Yeah,
that's what is kind of surprising to me about the Bucky Irving usage. Is I think it's gonna, or not surprising, is I think they're going to shift more to a running back by committee with Tucker and Gainwell being far more eating at the snap count for Bucky. So that'll be something to pay attention to. Especially Gainwell. Like Tucker proved he could be a very solid between the tackles guy, and Gainwell is a very good pass catching back, which like are the 2 types of running backs that you need. So it's like if you're Bucky Irving, it can be a little tough. Let's turn to the Tennessee Titans, and my goodness.
Yeah, they just said, fuck it.
My goodness. They said, listen, Cam Ward, we're going to get you some help, sir.
You might not be able to see this help. He's shorter than you, but
we're going to get you some help, sir. They signed wide receiver standout from the New York Giants, Wan'Dale Robinson, who after Malik Neighbors went down, really was putting that team on his back. And there was a lot of talk about whether or not the Giants were going to re-sign him, going to be able to re-sign him. But a 4-year, $70 million deal, like this feels more worthy than the Romeo Doubs side contract. Because like Wan'Dale absolutely earned this. Like he showed he could be a dominant wide receiver 1 and that he could be a guy. And with the Titans, that's what you need for Cam Ward. You need a trusty target. They also get Daniel Bellinger, who is not like the greatest of tight ends, but he's another person to help out Gunnar Helm. And in that tight end room, he's going to be more of the blocker, Daniel Bellinger. Helm will be more of the receiver. But some of these big pieces that you can see on defense, I mean, I was hoping that Denver was going to find a way to keep John Franklin Myers, but I had a feeling they were probably not going to keep John Franklin Myers. And to see him go to the Titans and get a payday like this, congratulations, sir. You absolutely earn it. He reunites with George Sala. He was with George Sala in New York for the Jets, then got traded from the Jets to the Broncos. Now he signs with the Titans as Sala becomes the Titans head coach. This is sort of like a really great way to build out a team through free agency if you need to, while still maintaining like liquidity and still maintain like now. I didn't get a chance to talk about it when we talk about the Saints. The Saints are projected to pick Ruben Van Jr. at number 8 because right now the Titans are anticipated to get Jeremiah Love at 4, which would be a very high pick for a running back. But if Jeremiah Love is this guy that everybody thinks he is and says he is, then the like if you have Wan'Dale Robinson, Jeremiah Love, that's like Cam Love, like Cam Ward, you got a lot to love, no pun intended, about this offense now. And we're going to see how this works, which leads me to the question of, because I forgot it. Isn't it? Why am I blanking? Isn't it Dable? Yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
so
everyone was joking. Dable signed guys that got him fire challenge. They were like, "Oh, he's not Wandale, Bellinger." They're like, he put in a good word for Cordell Plot. Like, yeah, man, hey, Salah, this guy's good. Man. Trust me on this one. I love your gimmick of you just call Robert Salah different first names. One week he was.
Did I say Roger?
Yeah, no, you called him John again.
John Salah. Yeah, I'll give him a different name now every time.
You gave him Jim Salah one week. You just keep calling him different first names. I'm like, oh man, he really doesn't like Robert Salah. He doesn't like.
No, I don't. I mean, I have no issues with Robert Salah. Okay, no, you know what I think it might be.
George Umulu.
You know what I think it might be? For some reason, there may be like a mental block, and I keep thinking of Jim Tom Sula.
Yeah, probably.
Which is like, I don't know why I would think of Jim Tom Sula, but then again, they both were Niners coaches.
Yeah.
But anyway, how do you feel about the Titans selection or additions with free agency by Jonathan Salah? We'll go with Jonathan.
Jonathan Salah, yeah. I do like him. I don't know how much they changed the roster, but getting a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson, who showed, even though he's only 5'9", the first ever 5'9" wide receiver to get 1,000 yards and have like the receptions he had, it shows that he's a good, reliable wide receiver 1, worst case wide receiver 2, but he adds speed to that Titans offense. And then not only that, you also get like you said, Bellinger, who's also just reliable as a run blocker, but also can catch passes if need to. You picks up that secondary with Taylor and Flott. Flott's like whatever, but Taylor is definitely a good pickup. You know, I'm surprised New Orleans, with all the money they had, couldn't just keep him. Like, they just make up money and they couldn't keep this guy. Well, whatever. Jacob Martin's also a solid pickup. Picking up some decent O-line depth. I like it. It's fine. You know, like they traded for other players too and stuff. So they're doing well, the Titans. You know, they're like, obviously the Titans, their hope is that they can just keep the coaching staff, keep this roster together for the 2 to 3 years that these players have been signed. And you can keep building off of Cam Ward's rookie season. And hopefully you see Cam Ward take a next step and you see Cam Ward be a better player and stuff. So we shall see if Cam Ward has like a Bo next year where he takes that next step and he looks good in year 2. And you know, because the one thing about Ward, Bo Nix, Shuck, older players, like, you know, they're not the younger quarterbacks. They're not like Caleb Williams, where it's like, okay, guys, he's 22 years old. It's not like Cam Ward, who's 24, Bo Nix, who's 25, Shuck, who's 26. You know, these guys are older, more mature, have a lot of starts to their names, play through different systems and adversity. While Caleb Williams, it was like everything was handed to him type of business as like a young prodigy. Like, they're older players and they have more maturity, which means they mature faster. You know, yes, Cam Ward is a rookie quarterback and he's going to become a second-year quarterback, but really, to be honest, he feels like he's been in the league. He's more of like a third, fourth-year quarterback that's been in the league for a while because he's much older, much wiser, more mature about his situations. So,
and that leaves us with our final team to talk about, the Washington Commanders. There's a lot to like. There's maybe some question marks. I thought bringing back Marcus Mariota was interesting because it's like, hey, why not? The Laramie Tunsil extension, I don't like. Part of me feels weird about that. I don't know why. So maybe it's just the cost. of it.
Yeah.
2 years to 60 million. Like I think I'm looking at it more from that perspective, but I don't know, something off about that. I still got to figure out why it feels weird to me. But the free agency pickups, there's a lot of interesting ones here. Odafe Owe, that was one of the things individuals you and I were talking about when it came to the Chargers retaining Leo Chenal from the Chiefs, Tim Settle, that's a solid defensive tackle, Chika Okonkwo, that one's interesting to me. As a tight end target for Jaden Daniels. I mean, if you are a Ben Sinnott believer, pack it in, guys, because it's over.
Yeah,
they don't trust him to do shit.
Benson is on, like, I don't know what he did. He must have pissed off like someone
Dude,
somewhere on the line, because like must have been eating too much in the team room. Who knows?
It's weird. And I like the Amik Robinson signing because it's not like super expensive, but like I don't know how great of a cornerback Amik Robinson really is.
Yeah.
Like, were you just one of the better players on a bad Detroit Lions secondary, and with the exception of like Terry Arnold, or like were you just, I don't know. We'll see. How do you feel about these signings?
It's literally because they have Jaden Daniels on a rookie deal, and they're just signing people for the sake of signing people. Owe, he did well for the Chargers, and he did well 1 year for the Ravens, but consistency has been an issue with Owe. And, Odafe Owe was more of a rotational edge rusher for the Chargers, and that's how he played really, really well. So now he's like a full-time elite edge rusher. Leo Chenal, I thought they got a good deal on. I like Leo Chenal a lot. So glad I don't have to see him on the sheet and stuff. So he's a good linebacker. I like that. Tim Settle, I felt has had underrated seasons. But other than that, I'm just like, Chika Okonkwo, like, what? What did he do to deserve 3? Is that athleticism? Are we playing Madden and we just saw that his speed rating was 85 and we said, yeah, let's sign him. He's fast. He can beat linebackers. Like, I don't know. Not a big fan with what Washington did, to be honest. I don't know what they're doing, to be honest, but we'll wait and see, I guess.
We do have a little bit of sort of, I guess, breaking news. It's not really high levels of importance, I suppose.
Not Kyler Murray.
No, the Giants are signing former Steelers wide receiver Calvin Austin III to a 1 year, $4.5 million deal. So there's the help for Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, we replaced one little guy with another one. It's not as fast, not as reliable. So fuck it.
But there you guys have it. We broke down all of the free agency moves, at least as it stands right now, for the teams. And maybe we'll see if there's any kind of like really big couple names that come out of the exclusive rights period drying up and see what goes there. But I think we'll see the lay of the land as we determine when our next episode of True Offseason will be. But of course, you guys can always keep up with us when it comes to the Clocking In series for the Pit. So Chase, tell the people where they can find you, my good sir.
Yeah, you guys can follow me on X at ChaseOver68. I don't know if tonight or tomorrow, Steve and I were going to predict AEW Revolution on the Around the Point Network. So just tune into the Around the Point Network. I'll be on there since I am going to Revolution. Casual fan Chase has to witness 13 wrestling matches. Way too much wrestling for me. As a casual wrestling fan that's not hardcore for any wrestling company, this is just way too much for me. 13? I don't know. So I have to wait and see.
You can do it. You can do it.
Can I?
I mean, I think you could do it.
I'm not a big deathmatch guy either. My main event's a deathmatch. I will give AEW credit here. Normally, they rely so much on plunder matches on their pay-per-views just to keep us entertained.
Yeah.
I kind of like that they're keeping the death match as like, this is our only big-time plunder match, and everything else is just going to be a normal, regular match. Like some matches are 2 out of 3 falls, and they have like a time limit, like no time limit match, which is fine. But everything else, I'm kind of like, I just find it weird that Swerve and Brody Keane are feuding for the title, most dangerous man in professional wrestling, and it's a regular match. Like, I'm like, how are you?
Maybe that's how you start. Maybe that's how you start it.
But they're choking each other out with chains and shit on the show.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm saying that I mean, and trust me, it's me giving AEW the benefit of the doubt. But like, you could just say something where along the lines of like this goes to a DQ because somebody used.
I kind of hope that this is not an actual match. It's like kind of like they just like kind of do like the little like, all right. I always call it the Kane and Umaga. Like they start having a match and then they just brawl throughout the whole arena. And there's
like or either like a double count out, or you could do a situation where like they stop listening to the ref and the ref DQs both, which would be weird in AEW. That famously like the refs don't give a shit about most things.
Yeah,
so
Young Bucks matches they don't care. Like I expect the Young Bucks match is a regular match, but I expect like tables and all this other shenanigans to be performed. Like it's not going to stay a regular match. It's just a regular match on paper, but. Yeah, looking forward to going there. I'm actually meeting Dion from the Trio Heat chat. I'm gonna go with him and his brother. Awesome. Yeah, we're gonna go to the thing. I got my Kyle Fletcher shirt. I'm gonna be representing the greatest TNT champion of all time. My personal favorite AEW wrestler. That like such a shame. It was Takeshita, but I've lost hope. I got to sell my Takeshita stocks. I don't think he's never gonna push this guy.
Well, while I got you here. Let me ask you this.
Big money Mox.
Let me ask you this. What is your perspective on the Bam Adebayo 83-point game?
It's funny. I thought it was a joke at first. So like in the Trio Heat chat that we're in, or the sports chat that we're just some of the Trio Heat members in there, they were saying Bam had like 43 in the first half, and I was like, what? I was like, who are they playing? And then I saw they're playing the fucking Wizards. And so I was like, yeah, it's the Wizards. They kind of stink. So then as it's going on in the third quarter, I see Bam is already at like 60 something. And I'm just like, what the fuck? And then when I realized that, like, one, respect the Heat for doing what they did because they wanted their guy to get the record. That show that I love it. Is Bam a free throw merchant? Absolutely. 42 free throws is fucking ridiculous, but he made them. There's one thing I will say. People say, well, Kobe only did 23. I'm like, but you know what? For a big man, Bam definitely made his free throws. I'm fine with it. I just find it hilarious that it's going to be like, all right, so it's Wilt, Kobe. No, not Kobe anymore. What? Who had more points to Kobe? And then you're thinking, and then you're like, Bam Adebayo? What? And you're just confused. You're just like confused. Kobe's 80-point game is more impressive. It is more impressive. But Bam's, I respect it. I respect that he got to 83 points because everyone acts like it's easy. Then fine, get to these 80-point games. Heck, some players don't even get to 30 points.
As somebody who is at best a casual watcher of the NBA and just like in it for the playoffs kind of thing. I don't like, my issue is less with the Heat and much more with the Wizards, where it's like, then just stop them. Just stop them.
They stink.
Like, find a way to stop them. And if you can't, then this is what happens. Like it. Now, is there an argument that like foul baiting is what it is, and it's a lot different than what it was back in the day? Sure.
Oh, the refs were for sure helping him in this situation. Like, they're calling some loosey goosey.
But like that's a little weird to me. Like as Sid and Jimmy were talking about earlier on AEW Ramble, it's like, yeah, the refs they're helping who? Bam Adebayo? Like, why would you be helping Bam Adebayo of all people?
They were very loose with the whistle. I will say in that game, the refs, not just on Bam, just on anything, they were very loose with that whistle that whole game. Because I went back because I was like, okay, let me watch it. I actually was a sicko and I watched the full game just to see like what I was missing.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh no, they were just loose with the whistle. Like I looked at that game and I was like, yeah, it was just that crew was just like, we're just gonna. Because like sometimes refs are loose with the whistle, so that way they don't get like, and especially because believe it or not, people don't understand this. The Heat and the Wizards are kind of a rivalry in the NBA. It's not a heated rivalry, but there is tension. So when refs know that like teams have some type of tension with each other, they will do the loose whistle to say, cut it out. We're not playing this bullshit today. Play clean. So then it's like, okay, fine, we won't do it. The refs were being very loose with the whistle. I don't know if because of this former past of this Heat and Wizards rivalry where it was a little bit tense one time ago that they're just like they were loose, but they were loose with the whistle. But really, to be honest, Bam, he did what he needed to do to get to those points. And like I said, he hit the three. If Bam had the 44 attempts and he had, I'll be like, okay, that's ridiculous. He went to the line that many times, but he hit them. So I can't hate on Bam Adebayo's performance. I just think it's hilarious that now he is the second most scored points in the NBA and stuff. He's at 83 Points, and it's just like, really? Oh, Kobe fans were pissed. I've never seen. I've seen a lot of sad things here in LA, especially when it comes to Kobe Bryant. This is probably the second worst of Kobe Bryant's death for LA fans. Oh. I straight up had someone on their phone refreshing like crazy because they're like, they were like, I hope Bam doesn't break it. Hope Bam doesn't break it. Freaking out. Like when Kobe Bryant died, it was like one of the saddest areas, like LA. Like it was horrible. But then Bam breaking Kobe's record, I think it's even worse for it's the second worst thing for them because the Kobe fans, the
record is no longer there. Yeah.
And then especially too, like they just re-released earlier this year the Kobe 81-point shoe. That shoe don't mean shit no more.
Oh,
it's like I need the Bam 83-point shoe. Sometimes I'll buy jerseys just for players for random moments. I'm thinking about buying a Bam Adebayo 83-point jersey just to say like, why do you have a Bam Adebayo jersey? I'm like, we're not disrespecting. And let's be real. None of us had cameras for Wilt Chamberlain. So I don't know. This 100-point thing is like kind of fake, in my opinion. I didn't see it. Where's the footage? I need the footage. I saw the footage of Kobe scoring 81, and I unfortunately saw the footage of Bam scoring 83. So for me, Bam has the most points in NBA history in a single game. I don't care. Oh, Will has 100. He has the picture. Where's the footage? We have pictures. We have all this stuff. We don't have a full game of Will Chambers 100 points. We have like highlights, and I don't know if that's for all I know, they could have been spliced together from a different game or from a different time you played this team. This is why
it could be advanced AI from the future.
Yeah,
where they can time travel. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Bam Adebayo's 83-point game. Most in the NBA games that I can say I've seen in person that isn't NBA 2K. I've seen this in person.
That's fair.
Good on Bam Adebayo. I don't hate it though. I don't know why fans are so pissed about this. Like they act like it's the worst thing to ever happen in the league. It's like, okay, if 83 points were easy, then fucking Steph would have gotten 83 points. Like
Steph would have gotten 83 points.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like if 83 points was easy, these great players, like bro, like do you realize like Damian Lillard, like he has like some of the most like 50, 60-point games, and it's like it's super hard to get. Like getting these points are not easy. Like it really is not easy. Like fuck, as a Timberwolves fan, I have to sit with the fact that freaking Mo Williams and Corey Brewer had the most points in our franchise's history for so many years. Like both of those guys had 52 points. Corey Brewer's especially cost me a fantasy championship. Fuck him. But rooting for him, but I was pissed when it happened. But I'm just saying, like, points aren't easy to come by. So for Bam to do this, we should be like, wow, that's awesome. And especially because it's a player like Bam Adebayo who's not like
this is all he's really got. Like it's all he's really got.
Yeah, dude, I get it. 22 points. Like the most he scored before that was like 35 or 40 or something like that. Like, why are we dogging on someone that got 83 points? I don't get it.
Well, we'll be able to see. We'll see how this works out for the Heat and how it works out for the Wizards. Because you know what, to pull this back to NFL, terminology or NFL world, it wasn't that long ago when the Miami Dolphins dropped 70 on the Denver Broncos, and that was a turning point for the Denver Broncos as a franchise. Vance Joseph almost got fired. He didn't. He convinced Sean Payton to say, let me lead the defense the way I want to do it. Stop. We can't be trying to do this hybrid system of me and Evero. And the entire team just kind of from there did a complete turnaround. And 2 years later, we're competing to be in the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, the Dolphins, who were the ones that dropped the 70, no longer have their head coach, no longer have their wide receiver from this wire one from that game, no longer have their QB1 from that game. So a lot of things can change. So if this is the fire that the Wizards need, hey, maybe you find a way to get a star player and go from there. But you guys can always catch me here on the True Heat Sports Entertainment channel. Clocking in on the pit, myself and Chase breaking down everything that happens in the pit. We just did another Scream video to do our rankings of all the movies. I know at some point in time, Sid and I are going to re-link up for the ranking of all the ghost faces. I know we'll be coming back with True Headphone Heat at some point in time to bringing down more music for you guys. So as always, you can catch us all over the place when it comes to this channel. But because I get hate mail every once in a while that we don't from a certain individual saying that we don't give him the opportunity to talk enough. Pat Mahomes, if you're out there, could you tell us a little bit more about how happy you are to have a running back such as Kenneth Walker?
Man, having a guy like Kenneth Walker is great, man. This guy is going to change everything about the offense. We have speed now at the running back position. We have a guy who's a game changer and a difference maker, just like a game changer and a difference maker is going to T-Mobile with its newest 5G. It's the best 5G on the network, John. You can get 5G from anywhere and any place. So go to T-Mobile today and you can get yourself a new iPhone 17 Plus. This is great, man. It's just almost as great as bundling your home and auto insurance with State Farm, man. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, man. And I'm always there to dominate the AFC West, to dominate the AFC. They wrote me off, but unlike Geno Smith, I ain't riding back, man. I'm going to make sure I'm becoming the Super Bowl champion. Bet on me to win MVP. I am fucking back, man. Let's go.
Yeah, we'll see if you're back for week 1. Anyway.
Yeah, I'll be back at State Farm's Insurance. Make sure I get the best doctors in the world.
On behalf of myself, on behalf of Chase, on behalf of Pat.
Man, my new Adidas shoe makes sure that I'm always ready.
On behalf of Patrick Mahomes, Sean McVay, and from time to time.
Yeah, man.
Much more rarely, Conor McGregor. We want to wish you all a happy new NFL year, and we will catch you all next time.
Fuck you.